Hey guys, we're back here again with writer Ben Wan. Hello, Ben. How are you
Hello.
today?
Pretty good. How are you?
I'm okay. I'm enjoying this nice weather. It is not raining. The sun is out, and I'll take it.
No complaints.
Yeah, no, I'm good with the weather. That's nice.
Mhm.
Well, thank you for being on my show today. I'm excited to get to talk to you because you have a vast array of different types of things that you write about, and
Thank you.
I am for that. I like all that stuff. So,
Awesome. Thanks
yes.
for bringing me on.
Oh, you're welcome. That's why one of my favorite things about this, I get to meet people I have not seen their work for yet, and then I'm like,
Mhm.
yes, I dig this. I need more of this in my life, so I'm excited to do that. Let's
Cool.
go give a quick shout out to the chat. You've got
Sure.
Awesome One in the chat. What is up, Awesome? How are you doing? We got GT. GT is in the house. What's up, GT?
Mhm.
Las Cruces, always in here super early. What is up, Las Cruces? We got your peep in the chat. We got Leander.
Yeah.
What is up? How
What's up,
are you?
Leander?
And then we got Phil. Phil is a resident homie. Phil, you're gonna like this one. He's got a book about Detroit. You're gonna enjoy it.
Mm.
So we're back from that. All right, let's like make things weird for a second. Go boom and then boom. Hi, Ben. How
Hello.
are you?
Now I'm on the spot. Jesus.
I know you're on the spot.
I'm used to this view.
Oh my, yeah, isn't it weird? Like you see your face, you're like, ah, crap. Yeah,
Glad I did my makeup today.
I know, right? I know. It's so great today. Yes, thank you. So for those that don't know you, would you like to give yourself an introduction?
Sure. I'm Ben Wan. As you can see, I'm a writer. I've written a whole variety of different things that I've been brought on to talk about. So some of that includes the Phantasm Compendium, which is a behind-the-scenes journey of the Phantasm movies by Don Coscarelli. So that's my nonfiction realm. I've also wrote a science fiction time travel short story, kind of a love story, but kind of not type of thing for Metaphorosis magazine called Shortcut to Happily Ever After. And is I'm grateful to say is the highest viewed video on their YouTube channel. From that, thanks to my podcast audience, because I also talk to various other creators called Superhero Stuff You Should Know. And on that podcast, we cover a lot of lost media when it comes to superheroes or comic book characters. A lot of times it's nostalgia for Batman movies, but sometimes Spider-Man or the X-Men. But no matter what, it's usually some form of unproduced screenplays, deleted scenes, concept art, as well as interviewing the people behind the scenes. So recently, we've had a lot of the people behind the 1994 unreleased Roger Corman Fantastic Four movie. We've had Bob Skier, who wrote for Batman the Animated Series and X-Men the Animated Series, and some of our favorite guests have been people involved with the older Batman movies, the ones we pretty much had nearly every screenwriter of the 90s Batman movies, except for Akiva Goldsman, which will happen someday. But for the time being, we're good. Yeah, we're good with continuing as is. And so that's been my podcast, and it's been great to be able to, talk to other people, pick their brains in terms of their own contributions to the mythos of all these different characters. And so because of the fact that I had my own podcast on a lot of the comic book characters and we were growing as an audience, it just made sense as well for me to take one of the projects that originally had started out as a screenplay, as a TV pilot. But it was like, it's a TV pilot, but it's still got people with superpowers. It's still got come on. This is probably more geared towards comic books, as well as the fact that when it's a comic, I'm able to say what the characters are going to look like in a way that I might not have been able to do if I just sold it as a pilot and gave it to someone else. So in this case, the comic is something that recently was released called Alter Ego. This is issue 1. It's an independent, self-published comic book. I wrote it, did not do the art. I don't have that talent, unfortunately. So I did have to reach out and hire people for that. But this is issue 1 out of what I see is a 4-issue way to tell the first chapter in the story, and then the remaining installments will kind of be bigger graphic novels. Once I've gotten, in a way, this was a way for me to get my feet wet with just independent comic books. So Alter Ego is something we'll definitely talk about. I'll save some of the logline stuff for when we go into it, but that's kind of been my my array of stuff. And then if you check out my website, I have a whole variety of spec scripts that exist with characters who I don't own, so I'm just okay putting it out there. So there's stuff from Elementary for Sherlock Holmes, and there's Curb Your Enthusiasm where Larry David goes to Disneyland, and I'm just messing around with a lot of those. And then was given the opportunity as well to write a lot of audio drama podcasts for, I guess, stories that are set in the other Batman movies that are supposed to be like
Ooh,
unseen adventures that we never got to see in the movies, and that's been great over at Newverse Creative. So I'm excited.
that's that's fun. I like all of that stuff. So when did you start your podcast? Well, the first podcast. How long has that been going on?
So I'm not actually the creator on that one. That one is
Okay.
from my co-host Andrew, and he started it many years ago under the name Superhouse Podcast. And I was brought on several times to just talk about just any of the news that was happening, whenever I had availability, whenever there was something that they wanted to talk about that was Batman related. And eventually, around the time of the 2019 era, where he was trying to find ways to rebrand the show, I was like, well, it's the 30th anniversary of the 1989 Batman movie, and there's all these like
So
cool things about behind the scenes because it was a 10-year journey to get that out to the audience. So there are all these different unreleased scripts or unproduced scripts that happened, and so I went on the show, talked about that, and afterwards I told him, there's stuff like this for the next movie too, and the movie after that, and so it just kept coming on, and eventually we decided, well, now that we kind of have a set format, let's rebrand the show and make it about covering sort of these unmade script stuff, and that's sort of how we built from there. So technically, even though it was started beforehand, this current version of the show has been around since 2019
okay.
with me as the co-host, and it's been
Nice.
great meeting fans and reaching out to fans, and it's offered all sorts of opportunities. Last year I was on a panel at LA Comic Con, my first time on a panel at
Oh,
any sort of
fun.
convention, and that was fun, and was fortunate to have the opportunity to meet people who were fans of the show just in person. Especially a friend of mine, Alex, who hosts a lot of his own podcasts and is a big supporter of the show, got to flew out to see me at the panel and see me at the convention. And Alex will come up again because he's kind of been a contributor as well to the comic. So
Oh, that's
it's been great.
great. That sounds very lovely because I think that's how the majority of us podcasters start. We'll hop
Mhm.
around other people's streams and we're kind of like, you know what, this is awesome. Let's do our own thing or be part of a production of something because
Yeah, for
that's
sure.
kind of how I started. I was behind the scenes doing random things. And I was like, you know what, this is cool. Let's keep doing this.
Mhm.
But yeah, Phil loves the Phantasm as well.
Awesome.
And then Leander is saying, if the art is your vision, though, nice.
Well, he is right on that in the sense that like these were the characters who I envisioned when I had the script. So it was kind of a matter of like, it's not like I necessarily gave somebody free reign to figure out how they look like. I kind of knew what they looked like. I had
Okay.
concept art drawn. I had or photos of different things that looked similar to what I had in mind for that. So that's part of what he means as well. Is the advantage to putting this as a comic book as opposed to doing a TV pilot is the fact that now I can say, okay, this is what the main character Jace looks like. This is what these supervillains look like. This is what I'm in a way in charge of costuming in a way that I wouldn't have been if I just sold this as a TV pilot. So you have a
Yeah.
lot more control over it, but it also means you have to know your world inside and out. You have to know eye color, hair color of everybody, and like keep track of that because your own continuity police. You can't really expect everyone else to have the same ideas as you, or to be as like I guess dogmatic about like trying to keep that consistent. So that was definitely something that was an interesting challenge when coming up with this. But thank you, Leander.
Yeah. It's also amazing too, like when you have to think about like each individual character because each individual character they speak differently.
That too.
So
Yeah.
you also have to come up with that as well when you're writing, and then like how you have to portray that on like panels and things, which is pretty neat. I
Mhm.
think that's fascinating. I love to hear about world building and like behind the scenes characters and like how you came up with characters because that's fun for me. I like all that insider information.
You want to go into that now, or did you have other stuff?
Oh no, we could just it's a free for all. We could do
Okay.
whatever we want. So I don't know if
Okay.
you want to talk about your Phantasm book first, or you want to get into the alter ego. Because I'm
Uh,
curious too about your Phantasm. Are you a huge horror buff, or are you just like gravitated towards Phantasm?
so this is an interesting origin story. So
Okay.
when I was like just out of college or so, I was kind of just looking around for different jobs, little writing jobs here and there, and I was recruited to write for it's gone now, but an online dating website that was geared towards like geeks. It was so like it would have different like different areas of it that were specifically geared towards horror fans or sci-fi fans, and what they thought would be cool would be for me to do the news, to write the
Okay.
like news articles for each part, and I kind of did that as like a small little side job. And what I didn't realize was that the person who was in charge of it also happened to be connected to Don Coscarelli. I don't know. I don't know if I can reveal the exact connection, so I'll just hold off on that. But
Okay.
essentially, I then get an email from Don Coscarelli himself being like, "Hey, how would you like to?" I think he had seen some interview that I had done. Oh yeah, it was with it was the guy who wrote John Dies at the End,
Oh, okay. I
which
like that
you can see
movie.
the
It's a
connection,
good
right? Because
movie.
Don Coscarelli did the movie. I
Okay.
did a review of the book and did a written interview with the writer on that. So I think Don saw that and he's like, "Hey, would you like to do this on the Phantasm movies?" And like I'm looking at the email and it's literally says Don Coscarelli on it. I'm just like, is this real? Like, is this the actual guy? So I'm like, yes, of course, and I hop on a phone call and it's him, and he wants me to sort of interview the people who were involved with these movies. And of course, I'm like, well, first off, I got to watch these movies in order to know what I'm actually going to be asking for. So I kind of had to do my own deep dive, go through all the 4 movies at the time, then became number 5 afterwards. But
Yeah.
at the time, there were only 4, and it was one where I really came to appreciate the world building, kind of like what you're talking about, that was involved there. The way that the stories or the sort of the weirdness kind of just got weirder and weirder as things went on, as well as just how much fun. I think that's what hit me the most. How much fun it must have been to make this, especially considering that I'm looking at this from the lens of I have to interview the person who I'm watching on screen. I think my first was Bill Thornbury, who he's in the first. He's in multiple movies, even though he technically dies in the first one. But he's shows up as this as the spirit throughout. And again, it was just sort of surreal to go right from watching a movie to then going on the phone and talking to them. And of course, the biggest one was the late great Angus Scrimm, the tall man of these movies. And I believe this was the last, maybe not the last interview that was conducted, but was the last published interview
Okay.
of Angus Scrimm. And I was very fortunate to be able to do that. Sweet, sweet old man. Was very humble as well. I think I called him legendary over the phone. He's like, "I don't know about that." I'm like, "Well, to Phantasm fans, you are. Like
Oh,
this
for
is
sure. Oh, for
this is such
sure. Yeah.
an iconic role, and it's one where his talent really got to show, and it was really awesome getting to talk to him. Unfortunate that he passed soon afterwards, but it was also kind of probably why Don wanted to do this. It started out as just a bunch of interviews, but he probably wanted to just have stuff that was commemorating or like have stuff down there for posterity. And from what I knew at the time, it was meant to be the interviews were meant to go on like the official Phantasm website. And I was like, okay, cool. And I was paid accordingly for that. And then sometime later on, around 2017, he's like, "Hey, those interviews that you did a few years ago, they're actually going to be brought together in a booklet that's going to be attached to the Blu-ray set." So that was kind of fun, right? Because it went from, oh, I'm going to have articles published online, I don't know when they're going to go up, to, oh, I'm actually going to have a published book. And so
Exciting.
yeah, I went into the booklet that went into the Blu-ray, and I have. Ooh, I should have probably grabbed it before recording, but I do have I did get to meet Don in person for him to sign my Blu-ray set of the set that had the book in it, and it was definitely a rewarding experience, because then it's like, okay, now I have, technically it is my first published thing, even though it wasn't originally meant to be that. But Don obviously owns the rights to everything that was done, and it's up to him to do what he wants with it. And so it became a booklet and then released separately as its own ebook on Kindle. which is how people can get it now if they don't have the Blu-ray set already. So yeah, just great experience. Don's like one of the nicest people you'll meet, and it's again really fun. All the people. There was not a single interview where I was just like, oh man, this person, now I got to really rein them in. Like every single one was humble, really friendly, super nice. And just very forthcoming, great answers too. You know, as you can kind of see from your own experience, right? Like there are some people who don't give you every now and then, and you know there might be somebody who you bring on who you kind of have to pull a little bit more out of them just to, you know, because they might be a little shy about stuff, but not in this case. You know, they gave just the right amount of information, and it's like, again, great experience.
Yeah, it happens a lot because on this series, I have two different series. This series
Mhm.
is called Fartist Feature, and I
Mhm.
do that on purpose because my most typoed name is K Poop, so I ran with it. But I have a I have a lot of first time people that are being interviewed for the first time, and they're so freaking nervous. They're like
Ah,
just like
gotcha.
kind of like freaking out. But when they hear my show is called Fartist Feature,
Mhm.
they relax and then they can chill and then they open up more. But they're so nervous backstage about. I'm like,
Mhm.
listen, use me as your test guinea pig. It's okay.
Mhm.
It's a crap show. We're good. And then you can go on to the more professional ones later down the line. Like, it's great. It's fine.
Mhm.
It's perfect. But we had more people pop in chat, and yeah, Figure says badass. And
Thank you.
yes, he also said we need a new Phantasm movie. Yes. So the thing about Phantasm is the special effects that are in Phantasm, especially the first one, for the
Mhm.
era that it came out in, are absolutely stellar. Like
Mhm.
the sphere, like just
Oh
seeing
yeah,
that
yeah.
sphere move around, it's insane. Like how they got that to even work because it doesn't look like CGI and it doesn't look like a ball just floating
Mhm.
around. They did such a fantastic job on that. Ooh. Good. Also, hang on a second. Before I get to CJ, I want to say something. Michael, be sure to stick around because you are really into indie comics and you're into indie comics with anime twist. And
Mhm.
stick around because Alter Ego, his book that has on Amazon right now, is super right up your alley. And
Nice.
yes, you don't know anybody named Obi-Wan Kenobi, but Ben Wan, yes. Yes. Mm-hmm. There's a
Anyway.
lot of there's two people on YouTube that have the greatest usernames of all time. I'll tell you right now. One is Obi-Wan Kenobi, and the other one is
Perfect.
Obi-Wan Can Blow Me. I see them around all over the place, and they have the best names, and I
They just need
giggle
to
so
team up.
hard. They need to team up and become a duo, and become the greatest Obi-Wans of all time. Let me tell
Yep.
you, I would be here for this.
Mhm.
This is a great question. Who would be the next tall man? Ooh.
You know, I'm sure Don's been asked that. I think I did see again. It's not. I don't have inside information on that, so
Yeah.
don't expect me to be the authority on that. I don't want to see this on like, you know, one of those websites
Oh,
being like writer of
this is
Phantasm
going nowhere.
Compendium
This is yeah.
spoils the next tall man, because I don't even know if there's going to be another Phantasm movie. Because if Don was working on that, I'd be the last person he would tell. But in terms of that, he did bring up technically, right? Cat
Uh-huh.
Lester is the Toll Man. It's the female
Mm,
form that he takes on in the first movie. So
interesting.
if and to me, I'm like, well, that makes sense because like whenever you have this type of thing where, you know, unfortunately Angus has passed, it's like, well, it's been part of the mythology since the very beginning. It's not like you're adding a new person who we're all going to reject. Like we already know that that was the form that was there from the get go, and in fact, we saw her before we saw him.
Yeah.
So I'm like, that could be interesting. Where it's just like, okay, like the tall man has now evolved into just taking on this form the entire time, and those who are fans of the Phantasm franchise will completely understand why, and also still welcome her. I think they'd be a lot more welcoming of her in that as opposed to just a completely new actor as the tall man. You know,
That would
because
make a
she's
lot
been
of
there from the
sense.
beginning.
Yeah. Yeah, that would make complete sense.
Hmm.
So I would be down with that.
Yeah.
CJ, who would you have pegged as the tall man? Who do you want to see? I know you're also
Yeah.
into these movies as well.
Let us know.
Yeah, let us know. Same thing with Figure, because Figure obviously is a fan too, because he also wants a new Phantasm movies.
Hmm.
You know, I was gonna say the same thing with The Crow, because if they were gonna redo Eric and Shelley right now for the new movie, this would have been the time to do the female crow, in my opinion, because they've already done that in the past in the comics. That they could have really gotten away with it on that time, especially if they're using the Shelley that's in the movies. What's her name? FKA Twigs. That's her name. She would have looked amazing as the crow. Oh, dude, I could totally see Javier Bardem be the tall man. He's got that look. I could see that happening. Yes, I could see. I would be down with that. That would be cool.
Don's going to have to raise a lot of money for that one.
Hey, crowdfund it. The people will want it. I'm telling you, it'll happen. That happens a lot on Indiegogo. A lot of people crowdfund their movies.
I do think that's the only other way outside of having somebody, because obviously the tall man's had like all these other sorts of forms, right?
Yeah.
So outside of bringing somebody who's already been a part of it, has been in that form where like, okay, it makes sense because I've seen you in this form since the beginning. I think the only other way for people to accept the tall man is if it's somebody who's like a big name.
That would work, but yeah, I think he would work too because I could see him in that role. Like I don't even need makeup, nothing. I could see him. I could picture him in there doing that. So
he's going to regret having another bad haircut to play the creepy character. Okay.
Honestly, it's almost the same haircut. So yeah, it's okay.
Yeah.
It might have even been where they got the inspiration from that other haircut from.
You know, that's a good point. Let me take a look at this. Just take a look and see. It probably is very similar.
It's very similar. I can just picture that weird like thing happening, you know, like the bangs situation. I can picture that right now. Like that's immediately what I'm looking at when I figure.
Yeah, if you bring it back as opposed to, because he kind of has it forward. If you bring it back or so, then it would look like that. Yeah.
Yeah. It's already there. It's writing itself. I'm telling you right now. This needs to happen. Chat. We're gonna get this happening. So besides your Phantasm book and the other stuff that you've written for your podcast, you are now venturing into comics. Graphic novels, comics, whatever you want to call that. It's all exciting. So you're writing a comic now called Alter Ego, which issue 1 is now on Amazon. Hold on, let me paste this down here. Oops, hold on. Wrong linky poo. Hold on. This guy.
I know we put a lot of links in the description.
We did. It's okay. Let's see. Oh, wait. I've never done that before. Okay, interesting. I've never been on my channel dashboard before and seen when I was on a live, which is interesting. Interesting. There we go. So there is the link to your Amazon page for Alter Ego. And hold on. Okay, what did you say? We got Pinhead versus Tom. Ooh, that would be an interesting mashup. Because they all kind of play in that realm of like, well, also Freddy Krueger as well. We got the 3. You know, that would be interesting.
Yeah, for sure.
I would like that. Okay, what are you saying, CJ? There are not many sinister-looking tall guys available. You'd probably go with a no name. Interesting. No name could work, but also Javier, I think, could really pull it off. He could do it because he's also kind of silent in some of his movies. Silent but creepy, which would work. He has balls of steel. Oh my.
The sphere.
The sphere of steel.
Yeah.
CJ. Click on his page and go check out Alter Ego. So, okay, I have a question. So how did you, when you were writing your comic, because you said originally you wanted to do screenplay or something or other, what made you decide to bring it to like comic, but also kind of like the anime-ish style, if that makes sense?
Got it. So yeah, the idea of turning it into a comic was kind of discussions that my lit manager Leander and I had for a while because of the fact that it was one where we both really love the story, we love the world, but it existed in the world where I had written it as essentially a spec pilot. And so for those who don't know, in the TV industry, a lot of times you have to write like TV scripts that sometimes are like your own ideas for your own TV shows, and they're like, great, this person has a voice, let's hire you for our own TV show where you have to completely emulate someone else's voice. So it was always meant to be sort of like a sample for that. But obviously whenever a writer is going to sit down and write a pilot, you're not going to think like, well, this is just a writing sample, so I'm not going to put much thought about what's going to happen later on. Like, no, you're coming up with an entirely different TV show. You're coming up with an entirely different world. And so naturally your mind's going to go into all sorts of directions in terms of where that goes. And with TV, of course, you're sort of at the mercy of, what's available, who's hiring and stuff. And with the story like this, I realized that the only way to sort of bring to life the vision would and have me in charge of it probably would not be TV right now, unless again, like I got in, I rose up, and I was able to become, a showrunner and get everything done exactly the way that I wanted to, which could still happen with this. But I was like, you know what? If I put this down as a comic book, though, I know what they're going to look at. I know all the characters, what they look like. I know what the world is going to look like. I can put that down on paper so that the people's first exposure to this world is actually down to me, is down to the way that I see everybody. So. That in combination with the fact that I'm already a comic book reader, like
Okay.
this is one where it seemed like a no-brainer. Leander was telling me, it was like you already have an audience for comic book people. So like why
That's
not
true.
like go
That's
into
true.
comics and like do your own thing. I have all these episodes about other people's characters. Why not talk about my own question? Like, what talk about my own like characters um, throughout the time that I'm doing podcasting. So I'm like, okay, these are excellent points. And also, when I look at like the stuff that I was uh, like looking at for entertainment, I wasn't watching as many movies. I wasn't watching as many TV shows, but I was reading a lot of comics. So I'm like, this isn't a thing where somebody's just like, oh, I give up on trying to break into the screenwriting. I'm just going to turn to a comic book, even though I know nothing about comic books. Like, no, I know the comic book world. This is already written for something that was simulated a comic book world. It seems like almost more natural in a comic book world than in a TV show. So I was like, let's turn this into something. And so when it came to the anime style, that was a little bit more down to the artist for issue
Okay.
one. I didn't necessarily come in deliberately wanting specifically an anime style. I think I just wanted something that could like feel like the world that I had envisioned. And I wasn't necessarily thinking an anime style because again, this was originally written as a TV pilot that was going to be 1 hour and in live action. But it was kind of one of those where I was looking at it and I said, okay, this does feel like the world, though. This does feel like what I'm thinking of. And so it was kind of one where that was a little bit more of an accident rather than deliberate. But it worked, it worked for me when I saw it. And that's kind of what happens when you're working on something with other people, the collaborative process. A lot of times, like, yeah, it is my vision that was where it started. But then you see some other things that happen. You're like, you know what? All right, fine, let's go with that. And so that's kind of how that came about.
I think the style works really well with the story, especially with the futuristic type thing and the superpowers that they have in the world. I don't want to give away too much, but no, it works pretty good and I like it. And has the artist that you worked on done a lot of series before? Because they did a good job on this.
Yeah. I mean, he had shown me his portfolio of like previous stuff and like other projects. So like he's done other series. This is not like his first time.
Okay. No, he did. They did a good. I'm assuming it's a he. I don't know. I didn't didn't go to their Instagram yet, but I will after this. Oh, they did a great job, and they did a lot, like really good. Because you talked about this before, character building and the world building of how they make each individual character completely distinct, and they nailed that inside the story in the artwork, which was really great. Figure drawing has a question, and we'll get back to Osrigo. Are you a horror movie nerd?
I'm not a huge horror movie nerd, which I know is ironic considering the Phantasm Compendium, but that might also be why Don asked me, so that he would know that sometimes you want the perspective of somebody who's from the outside. So I think that's part of it. But I think have gotten more into horror movies since then. I sort of reserve for the past few years. I reserve October to be the time for me to watch a whole bunch of horror movies I've never seen before, including like a lot of the classics that I hadn't seen. So like that kind of becomes my thing. And there is a horror movie influence in Alter Ego for a little bit. So there's a fair amount of Stephen King in the character. He's only in like a few panels, but he's introduced as the host, who's the head of the second family, and he's on the. Let's see what page is. I think he's on the second page. Yeah, he's on the second page. He's on the bottom of the second page. And basically, I'll just read it out loud, actually.
Okay.
The host runs the second family, imprisoning all the humans the families can find. I've heard the host is either a telepath or some kind of vampire. I say he's both. He tortures you with his mind and feeds off your pain. So that type of character comes from is very much influenced by Pennywise, uh, The Shining, all these types of characters who sort of feed off of something. And so I really wanted for the host. He was kind of the last supervillain out of the five families I came up with because I really wanted each villain to be like distinct in their own way. You don't want like five different guys who all can just move things with their mind. It just feels like they blur together, even if they have different personalities. And I figured that some part of what helps with coming up with characters is what type of feeling do I want the audience to get with this villain. There are villains who you feel like, okay, like this person, I don't agree with him, but he's kind of justified, which is sort of what the Kaiser falls into as we get to know more and more. And the Kaiser's the head of the first family. For those who don't know, he's the one who's kind of the top. He's basically the king out of all the supervillains here. But he's like somewhat justified for like carving out this area that is just for his people who have superpowers. So I kind of agree with him. And then there are other characters who are a little bit more the villains who you have fun watching, even though you kind of know that they're doing messed up stuff, but you have fun watching them. So that's, a lot of people, one of the, I guess, sleeper characters or ones that people have liked is the Saint, who's the head of the fifth family. And he's the guy who is clearly sort of the little finger of this type of world where he's manipulating everybody. And he's, partially the spy network as part of this family. But it's already revealed in this first issue that he has plans to take over. He's turning against the other families in some way and potentially using our main character against them. So he's the villain that's fun to watch. I needed a villain that you absolutely hated, who you loathed because you just want this guy to die. That type of villain.
You needed your Joffrey.
Yeah, exactly. I needed that type of villain. And I was like, I'm missing that. What could that be? And then I think it was from having, read It and The Shining and Doctor Sleep and stuff that I was like, well, what if it was something like that? What if it was like that? And so since each family of supervillains in this world is in charge of a different thing, I'm like, okay, what if he's in charge of the prisons? And then what does he do in the prisons? What's the most horrific thing I can think of? Which is just inflicting torture in you without even having to like touch you at all, just doing it with his mind and laughing about it as he grows younger and younger because it rejuvenates him. So he will get like younger in looks the more people he tortures. He will be more energized from that. And I was very fortunate to be able to point my inspiration not only to that, the other inspiration for that character based off of his look for science fiction fans who are looking is the Master from Doctor Who with the goatee and stuff. I wanted that type of look for that, and I had the very fortunate opportunity to get to tell one of the Masters that I had a character based off of the Master for that. So in February there was the Gallifrey 1 convention, and so Derek Jacobi was there. He was the Master for like 5 minutes or so on the TV screen. He still does it over audio, but I had the opportunity to show it to him, and he just seemed to think that I was twisted because he was just I don't know what the character was, and he just looks at me and he's just like, "And you conceived that?" I'm like, "Yes."
That's hilarious. That's awesome.
But he wished me luck with the comic, but I think part of him was just like, okay, maybe that was a little too much in terms of maybe my version of the Master wouldn't do that. But yeah, there is a horror movie influence for sure on that. I want this type of stuff to be to feel like different worlds. When you're with each family, it feels like a different thing. So like with the first family with the Kaiser, it's like you are part of this weird twisted royal family, Game of Thrones type of thing. The second family would be the host, where you're in the middle of a horror movie. You are completely just in this twisted world trying to get out of there alive. Third family would be the collective, and it's the army. It's the military, which is a self-duplicating army, which I thought would be really cool. The fourth family would then be the gatekeeper, who communicates with all the animals, but he's essentially the border patrol. And then the Saint is this immortal guy who's able to spy on everybody, and you're in sort of a spy movie with that. So that's kind of the idea, was that as you shift through this world, it's also different mini worlds that are in there.
we had a couple people popping in here. So if those don't know, we're talking about your comic that's out now. Is for issue 1 for Alter Ego, and it's kind of like 5 supervillains have taken over Detroit in like the future. And I'm curious, what made you pick Detroit as your setting?
It kind of, to be honest, some of it was inspired by The Crow. I know you brought it up.
Yeah.
It was inspired
Okay.
by The Crow, but I was the city, the way it looked like in that movie. I was like, okay, like something like this could be really cool. So that was part of it, and also the other aspect was, everything is set in New York in the Marvel movies. Like
Everything.
everything is set, everything is
Everything.
New York. I'm like,
Yeah.
let's not do New York again for that. Let's just do something that's a little different.
Ah, yeah.
And again, it's not one that is so it's not something where I was like, okay, this is where I think it'll go for Detroit in real life. It's literally just I loved the way the city looked in The Crow, and I was like, okay, this is like an
Yeah.
alternate world version of that, because clearly, the way that it turns out to be that way is not stuff that would happen in real life, which is 5 families of supervillains just take it over. You know,
You don't
um,
know. You don't know. It
yeah.
could happen.
Mhm. So it just seemed like for this type of genre, this was sort of something that was untapped, that was like mainly in The Crow, whereas like everything else in like the superhero supervillain world is in either New York or a city that's made up, that's basically New York, which is Gotham.
Metropolis. Come on, get this. It's New York. Come on.
Yeah, exactly.
we know it's New
Or it's been
York. Come
shot
on.
there. Yeah.
Yeah.
So some version like that, I can also see in the chat. RoboCop was brought up too. So yeah, the
Yeah.
Crow and RoboCop, 2 very different versions of that too, of Detroit.
There you go.
And there, and I was like, okay, well, let's add another layer into that, as opposed to being like the 20th thing that's set in New York in this type of genre.
No, I gravitate towards books from Detroit or about Detroit because I'm 5 minutes from downtown Detroit.
Oh, there you go.
I grew up here my entire life, so every time I see a book about Detroit, I'm like, yes, thank you. Dark Man. Yeah, there's a lot actually that take place here, and you kind of forget about it, but then you're like, oh yeah, they took place here.
Right.
I like that. But yeah,
but those are older movies.
They are older
so
movies.
it's something to tap back into, as opposed to just continuing the current trend. But those are ones that I grew up with. Like RoboCop,
for sure. Yeah.
Dark Man. Like
my stream mascots, ED209.
Oh, nice. So yeah, the sort of those darker, edgier ones that are set in that world that aren't really based on comic books, like RoboCop and Darkman, but they were the R-rated alternative at the time because they weren't making the MCU at that point.
Yeah.
Like, this is Alter Ego sort of harkens back to that type of stuff.
Okay, so figure drawings bring up another movie, Barbarian, and this movie is good, but it's also hilarious to me because no one in their right mind would rent an Airbnb on 7 Mile in Detroit in the Brightmoor district. Let me tell you, no one in their right mind would do that. Let me tell you, it is one of the most dangerous areas in Detroit. I'm telling you right now, would not happen. So the fact that that movie even was made is just kind of hilarious to me because I've been there. Like, I know what's happening there.
It's another variation of people complaining about, like, why does this character stupidly go down the dark hallway? Well, like, why did this character rent a fucking Airbnb over there? Like, it's
there's a point where she's downtown, she's talking to her friend. She's like, "Oh yeah, I rented a Airbnb over this area." The friend's like, "Oh, really?" That's like,
that was their way of acknowledging it, even though
that's absolutely hilarious to me. But no, there's a lot actually that take place, and I love it. I love the fact that the city has changed so much since we've had Devil's Night back in the day, where that's one of the things that I like about the Crow movies, because it showed the grittiness, like RoboCop as well. It showed that back in the day.
Yeah,
that's what it looked like. It doesn't really look like that now. It has changed a lot, and it's for the better. But back in the day, it was gritty like that. And if you watch the trailers for the new Crow, that's completely missing from that.
Yeah,
and that was such a huge part of the movie, and that's missing to me, and I miss that. Oh, hey Rick, what's up? What's up, Rick? And wait, Leander has a question. Did it also feel like Detroit to you? Yes, it felt like a futuristic Detroit, or like where Detroit is heading now. But yes, I could definitely get Detroit vibes from there. Yes. I could shoot you also some locations that you might
Oh,
want to
yeah.
add into the future,
Please
because
do.
there's some cool things that you could probably
Yeah.
possibly use. Yes.
Yeah, for sure. Because obviously there's some level of like, okay, this is this area here where the supervillains hang out. That's them like creating that castle for themselves in some
Yeah.
ways. But there'll be other stuff where like obviously there'll be real life locations that have ended up because this is a real city.
Yeah, it very much is a real city. And
Mhm.
CJ, the amount of change that has happened in the city of Detroit since I was young, and let me tell you, I'm in my 40s, so I have seen all kinds of stuff. When we were young, even up until like 99, it was called Devil's Night in Detroit for a reason. They would burn the city down. From my house, which is 5 minutes downtown to downtown
Mhm.
Detroit, you could hear the sirens. You could hear the stuff happening. You could hear all that at nighttime. They actually changed it to Angels Night to get that away from the city because they wanted to rebuild it. So they've been rebuilding it heavily since 2000. And where the city is now compared to where it was even just 20 years ago is night and day difference. Completely. You could, it's amazing what they have done to that city. So yes, CJ, it has completely changed. Yeah. But, yeah. So yeah. Now I could also, if you want, there's a lot of people that are coming out with books based around Detroit, which I could actually send you later too, so you can kind of like get to know them as well, because
Sure.
you might want to do that. So
Yeah.
wait, keep on. True, it's facts. I know. Yes. Yeah. Nothing wrong with being a vampire. An old
I have one in the
person.
comic.
Fine.
So
You do. I like the
Cool.
vampire that you have in your comic. It's pretty good. Sounds like Harlem to you. Yeah, it's getting better. Yeah, so we have actually more people coming in here. So
nice.
Yes. I know you asked a couple questions, CJ, but I'm saving those to the end.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, the other thing too is we just recently released a variant cover for the comic.
Ooh.
So that's new. That came out earlier this week. But Alex, who I mentioned earlier, Alex Ramsey, who is a big fan of my podcast, basically picked up the issue, read it, and he loved the character of the Saint, who is, again, for the people who are just coming in, the Saint is a character who is in charge of the spy network. And he's kind of also, in Game of Thrones terms, sort of the little finger of this world. So he's like always manipulating other people, including our main character. And it's kind of just like, okay, who's manipulating who? Like, is he helping my main character Jace because Jace is manipulating him, or is he already 2 steps ahead of Jace because he figures Jace wants this, and so he's going to give him a little something, but it's really to do his own agenda? He's going to be the one I have the most fun with in future issues. But Alex really loved that character, and so he did a variant cover of that version, of his own version of the Saint, and sort of had his own sort of fan cast of who he's going to put in there, likeness wise. I'll let people sort of judge who they think it is when they look at it. But I think that it speaks to the power of the fact that you don't necessarily know which like characters are going to resonate with people. I had a fair bet though that the Saint was going to like win people over, and it's kind of cool just to see. This is something that started like over a year ago. It was still just a screenplay, right? And so to now get this type of character out there to the point where a fan is going to, a friend and a fan is going to do his own art piece on that character and have an actor in mind to play your character and put that on there. And the ability these days for me to just be like, all right, cool, let's slap that on a book and publish it on Amazon. It's definitely one of the most rewarding things about being a creator, is seeing what characters take off, what characters resonate with people so well.
That's awesome. That has to be such a good feeling. Have you had anybody come up to you at a con yet? Cosplay?
I mean, that would be very soon. This comic came out last month, so
I know, yeah.
It's been less than a month.
Yeah.
If there was a cosplay already, that would be amazing. But I would love to see that in the future. But in the meantime, it's kind of like just building it up so that people can cosplay it as in the future. But yeah, I'd love to see that. I'd love to see somebody,
Perfect.
dressed as the Saint or the Kaiser or any of the five families or versions of Jace, because Jace is going to have different like looks throughout. He already has like 3 different looks in the first issue, So, but he'll have a set look for a while, and then he'll have another set look for a
Nice.
while.
Interesting.
So
What's
that
up?
would be very rewarding to see.
I would like that because I can see people dressing up because they have outfits that aren't so super difficult that they could recreate themselves. So I can definitely see a bunch of people cosplaying your characters.
Yeah.
Ooh, Leander's gonna go with the judge. Nice.
Yeah,
Nice. That's a good one.
it's another fun character.
What's up? Yeah, our resident Dracula has entered the chat. So yes, there is a Dracula. Well,
Nice.
not Dracula, vampires in this book. So yeah.
Sweet.
So, dang, I was gonna ask you something. Yeah, so there's a lot that happens in this one initial issue, which is cool because it keeps like you going, like you want to keep reading it, and I like the flow that it's in there. So it sets up at the end where you're like, wow, this is intriguing. All kinds of stuff's going to happen in issue 2. And you're like, yes, I can't wait for issue 2 to be happening because you want to keep reading it. I like that. I like that you got the flow of that in there. That's nice.
Yeah. That definitely came from, when it comes to like the flow of it, a lot of that just came from, hey, if I'm a comic book reader reading this, what do I want like a good first issue to feel like? Because again, this is me drawing off of years and years of reading comics. So the sort of introduction to all the families came about because I'm just like, I got to plop you and really introduce you to this world as clearly as possible in terms of what this is about in the first 4 or 5 pages, in a way that I might have had the ability to take a little bit more of my sweet time in, say, like a pilot or the beginning of a movie screenplay. If this is a movie screenplay. So it was really paying attention to the flow. As well as the fact that, like, okay, now that this is a comic, I'm not just going to try to transfer a pilot script and just give it to the artist and let him figure it out. Like, no, I'm going to write it like an actual comic script. I'm going to try to go panel by panel and know, okay, if there is a cliffhanger at the end, like basically for those who aren't familiar with comic stuff, you know that when you open it up, first page is on the right, which means that any odd number page is going to be on the right each time, which means your cliffhanger should be basically towards the end of your odd numbered page in order to get the reader flipping to the next page. So that type of stuff is what I kept in mind, which is why, end of page 3, what happens? Jace is tossing a grenade. Page 4 starts explosion. So that type of stuff, that sort of flow is stuff that, like, if you're not familiar with comics, you're not going to think about. You're just going to go page by page and try to like emulate or try to basically be like, okay, just do my script in a comic book form. And that's not really how it works. You have to sort of adapt it to that. I also wanted to make sure people got like a good, not just an introduction to the world, but also not just feel like, okay, I picked up this comic, read it, and nothing really happened other than just a bunch of exposition.
Yeah.
It really needed to feel like, okay, this is the beginning of a story and have an actual cliffhanger at the end. So it was very interesting going through like the different options of what could the cliffhanger be, so that you have like like the other people are going to be hooked to get into the next issue. So
like myself. Yes.
Yeah. So I'm not going to give away what that is for those who haven't checked it out. The second issue is in the works and is due later this year.
Nice. So yeah, I really like the pace that you set in here. There was enough happening in the book that you weren't like so overwhelmed with like people's scenes, what was going on. And I liked how you broke down each individual, like the families, because there's 5 families.
Yeah.
I like that you broke down a little bit. You didn't really introduce most of them because they're coming in other issues, but you know that they're there and they're coming. And I like that you didn't do too much backstory yet, because that's something that you're going to see in future issues. And I like that. Yeah. You paced it very, very nicely.
Well, thank you.
So kudos to you. So yay, that was great. CJ has a very long question here. Let's see. What did you type in here? Do you write with being optioned in mind, or do you stick to the traditional story writing methods? It seems most writers these days are writing in a way that can be adapted to TV or big screen.
So kind of harkening back to what I was saying here, if I'm writing a comic book, I'm writing a comic book. If I'm writing a TV script, I'm writing a TV script. So the pilot script for Alter Ego has the same story, but it's written differently compared to the comic book, right? So
Okay.
there are certain aspects where it's I like some things are going to be the same, and other aspects where I'm like, okay, I have to change this up a bit. So the original pilot screenplay, for example, does not actually have any narration at all from Jace.
Ooh,
Um,
interesting.
and that seemed to fit for that. For this comic, I'm like, you kind of have to explain the world a little bit. You kind of need an explanation of who everybody is here. So like you need to figure this. You need people to know. And I figured that would be a nice touch, and it's already a part of the comic book medium. So I was like, you know what? Let's just do it this way. And now a part of the series. But it's not something where I'm like, okay, and I'm doing this just so that each issue becomes the first, like 10 minutes of a TV pilot. I'm not really writing it in that way. I'm writing it in what I feel like is the best way for that medium. And if it ever gets adapted, right, then it'll turn into what's appropriate for that medium. So I'm not trying to uh, like do multiple things at once. I'm trying to do the best I can for this specific medium, and then when it becomes a pilot or an ongoing series or a movie, then it'll get turned into that.
Okay. Here's another follow-up question to this, but hopefully that answered all your questions, CJ.
Yeah.
Oh, Leander has a question. Can you show the cover for issue 2?
Yes, I can. Let me see if I can show it without giving away the ending of issue 1. Yeah, there we go.
Nice.
Yeah.
Got.
So that is Jace with the Judge, who Leander said that he would cosplay. So I'll hold you to that.
But you better be doing that.
The Judge is a character who's basically a human lie detector. That's his superpower. Because I thought what would be cool is instead of in X-Men there's all these telepaths, and that's awesome for X-Men. But I was like, what would be interesting is if there's no like telepath who can do everything, like Professor X or Jean Grey. There you have specific types of telepaths instead. So that's why the people with psychic powers have very specific psychic powers. The Judge is only really able to be a lie detector. The host is only able to inflict pain and feed off of it, but it's not like he can read your mind. That type of stuff. In terms of how the Judge's power works, it was narrowing down. Okay, how is he a human lie detector? It's because there's a frequency that he hears whenever there's a difference between someone's thoughts and what they actually tell him. And so it's like a dog whistle for him specifically. And so that's specific to his telepathy, to his psychic powers. But it's not like a catch-all. It's not like he can just do everything. Because there's a trick here where, Jace does have superpowers, but he's the least powerful guy in this entire world out of everybody here. And that's obviously by design. But you also don't want to make it so ridiculous that he's up against people you're just like, all right, well, you don't have a chance. You're going to die, So it had to be like somewhat grounded, but I didn't want it to be so grounded that this might as well just be Undercover Cop, the comic. Like this had to be something that felt like this is a super villain world.
Yes. And you set this up really nicely because in the beginning, you could see where the main character is Jace, and he's trying to go up against, one of the main guy, and then you see what happens, and then he comes back to, reassess his situation here. But I like that you gave each individual one of the powers, if you will. It's kind of unique, but it feels familiar. Like you could, like if you read a comic book, you know what that superpower is, but you gave it a twist on each one, which I think is really cool, and I like that you did that. That was a good question, baby. I will get that in a second. But no, I like that you did that because it feels familiar. And it feels like you can get, when you're reading it, you get involved in the characters more, and you feel for them.
Yeah.
More for that. And I like that. But you gave it your little twisty boo on it, and that's pretty nice. I like that. Okay. Figure says it would be messed up. The lie detecting character was in fact a liar. Ooh. Gotta read the book, Figure, and find out. Gotta do that, baby. Does your Batman blanket over your chair have more than just his face?
I mean, it has words. There's other stuff on there, like Gotham Guardian and World's Greatest Detective. But I mean, the face, I think, is the most
iconic. What's happening here? Oh, Leander. Giveaway. K-pop. Please pick 3 people, and you're happy to send them copies of Alter Ego, hard copies of Alter Ego. Oh my. Oh snap. I would say, let's see. Are we keeping this international or are we keeping this US? Because we have people from all over the place. That's a good question. This person keeps popping up in all the chats lately. And I like to, I really miss the porn bots when they were around on YouTube. You don't see them anymore. So, I am so thankful that we get some trolls coming in on here. Nice. Okay. If they have Amazon, okay, perfect. I would say send this because he is a huge fan of comics, but also he does his own comic, but he also does lots of reviews on YouTube. I would send this to Michael. Michael, if you're in chat, if not, I will reach out to you later. I would send it to him because he does like the anime style comic. I would also say send it to Figure Drawing. Figure Drawing would like it as well because he seems very interested in it. And then Tate says me. So, Tate, boom, there you go. 3 people.
Nice.
But yeah. I gotta keep highlighting that. That's my favorite comment of the night. Thank you for stopping by. Like, comment, and subscribe. I like that.
They're going in the comic.
They're going in the comic. Perfect. That's who should get the comic. Is like, comment, and subscribe. Is who should get that right there. Nice. Figure had a question as well. So I know you said you were into comics. What are some of the comics that you have enjoyed? But have you also read a lot of manga?
Oh, yeah, that's a good question.
Yes.
So for different comics, obviously, it's no big surprise just looking at my background that I read a ton of Batman comics. So a lot of the traditional, DC and Marvel stuff is stuff that I've read over time, especially when they are characters I grew up with, whether it's Batman, Spider-Man, X-Men, and there are newer versions coming out. I almost always do a deep dive beforehand, so X-Men 97 has been out, it's been a hit, and it's been kind of all right, let me go back, and especially with this Deadpool movie coming out too,
yeah.
let me just go back and read what I've got, which is the original, the beginnings of the Claremont run, anything that is classic, the original introductions to Wolverine, Nightcrawler, that type of stuff. So I have very classic mainstream tastes, I think, when it comes to comic stuff. That doesn't mean that I would never pick up anything else, clearly, because I'm going into indie comics, and I've read a fair amount of indie comics, but my background has been in primarily superhero and mainstream comics, and it's me trying to twist that's led to Alter Ego. Manga stuff I am getting into, actually, very recently.
Nice.
Part of it is, my intro into it, funny enough, is the Kuwata Batman Bat manga that we talked about on the show.
Yeah.
And those are fantastic because I love it's like Batman 66, but if it was done by Tim Burton, where it is you have the same design as the Batmobile, and it's the 1960s, and it's Batman and Robin, but everything's so macabre. Everything's kind of dark. In a 1960s-ish way. So I really love that. And I basically have a list of different manga to check out, but I haven't had a chance yet because I've been busy trying to make my own. But it's definitely something that I want to get more and more into.
Okay. If you're going to do the manga, have you read the manga comics for the X-Men and Spider-Man and any of that stuff? And if not,
I heard about them, but I haven't checked those out yet.
Yeah. And what were your thoughts on the Batman animated anime version that took place in Japan? I forgot the name of it.
Oh, the Batman Ninja?
Yeah, Batman Ninja. Yeah. It was interesting, to say the least.
That one I was not a fan of. I think we've talked about this on the show where we went in, and I think I was expecting something that was going to be about how Batman, how is Batman without all his technology, and his tools. And I thought I was really interested in that because a lot of people, especially critics of the character, are just he's just a rich kid with a bunch of toys. That's not really a superhero stuff. I'm okay, fine, take all that away. Kind of like the Captain America, the Iron Man thing. Take all that away. You still have a very smart, resourceful human being who can be very dangerous. So I was really looking forward to that. I felt like I got the complete opposite of that. Where it doesn't matter that the setting is in the past in Japan. We still have mech warriors. We have all this other stuff, and I'm Okay, you kind of lost me. Music was fantastic though. I really like the music. The
Music
music
and
thing.
art were great. Yeah.
Yeah, the
I
music that
I
was great
I
at the end. Yeah,
Hold
I
on.
just saw that comment too.
I'm gonna highlight that in a minute, but I don't want to lose my train of thought on the Batman Ninja movie.
Mhm,
I love the art style.
mhm.
The music was fantastic. I was left a little just wanting a little bit more. I was just like, oh, but they did
More substance.
you know, I was just wanting a little bit more from that. I was just kind of a
Mhm,
little bit let down just a tiny bit because my favorite animated series of all time are the DC movies. They're fantastic. I love them.
mhm,
Just that one, I was just it's just a tiny bit more would have been great. Just something needed just, something. I don't know. I
mhm.
can't put my name, but yeah, I love the
Yeah.
character designs on that. But yeah, I'm gonna highlight this because uh well, there you go. That's the
Mhm.
perfect comment right there. I'm gonna highlight that because that might be you're my new favorite person in the chat. And I hope you come around more because I like seeing it. You popped up in CJ's chat the other day.
Mhm.
You've been a breath of fresh air on the YouTube, so thank you for hopping in here. But oh yeah, to get back to this comment here, he wanted to know: have you seen the first Slam Dunk and or Godzilla -1? Both are great.
I haven't actually. I've heard great things, especially about Godzilla -1. I'm just not. I haven't really gotten into Godzilla. I've seen the original.
Okay.
Um, I
Okay.
did see the Matthew Broderick version when I was a kid.
I
I had the toy of the dinosaur looking
fantastic
Godzilla.
soundtrack.
Um, but I'm just not. I've never really been super into Godzilla, so
Oh,
I heard great things about it, but
breaks my heart.
I'll check it out.
Kaijus are some of the best things of all time. Yeah, no, that kills me. That comment, you're amazing. I have to get back to that. But hi, Kev. I see you as well. He's also from Michigan. So
Oh,
yes,
nice.
Kev, you just popped in here. So we're
Mhm,
talking to Ben here, and he has a comic books kind of set in the future, and
mhm.
it's about 5 super villain families that have taken over Detroit. Kev, you hear that, Kev? Let's go. Nice. Yeah, we got a lot of
Thanks for
Michigan
watching, Kev.
homies in here.
Mhm.
Yes, thanks for watching. Yes. Uh, anytime I see that comment, I just start giggling. Now it's like I can't help it. It's amazing.
I don't have a
So,
robot character yet in the comics, so
well, hey, boom. You don't know, it might be happening soon now.
Mhm.
Yeah, gotta get that going.
Yeah.
Uh, so, right? Hell's Night in the Deed. Kev knows all about it. He knows. He
Mhm.
knows what's up. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. You know. Uh, so what is issue 2 going to be coming out? Yeah, Phil's also Michigan. What's up, Phil? Hey.
Issue 2, I would aim for before the end of the year, so I would
Okay,
probably say November or December would be my
perfect.
best get,
You're
but
pacing
we'll
yourself
have to see.
nicely.
Yeah, yeah, we were strategic in this because of the fact that last thing you want is issue 1 is out. All right, when's issue 2 gonna come out? I'm like, I don't know, sometime in the next 3 years. Like, no, you wanna have something that's
Okay.
somewhat consistent. So, like, it's on the way. I'm not gonna be able to do this every month because I'm not DC or Marvel.
Yeah.
But at least having something to look forward to so that uh, okay, there's something coming. So at the end of issue 2 is going to be, the cover of issue 3. At the end of issue 3 is the cover of issue 4, and so on. So like that's kind of how I want to space it out so that people know that it's in the works. It's not one of those things where you got to wait years for the next like
Yeah.
issue or volume. And if that is the case, because if this does progress into just full on graphic novel continuations, then we'll try to find other ways to
Okay.
have or put stuff out there to continue the story.
Nice. So what was your main push for going to Amazon instead of just finding a local printer and printing locally or going to the crowdfunding campaigns? Like, why did you go that route?
Because of the fact that they enabled me to self-publish and
Okay.
had a page that they would be able to, I can easily point other people
Hmm.
into saying, "Hey, just buy it off of Amazon." You know,
Okay.
the other alternative is for me to print it locally and then be my own merchant, set up my own page,
Okay.
and do that. Which again is not something I'm opposed to, but it's also one where my job has been to get the next issue out, has been to work on the next, like, what's the next iteration, what's the continuation of this. And so if I had to, if it was a case where Amazon's just like, for whatever reason, Amazon says, no more alter ego, you can't upload to here, then okay, I would set it up because that's my main alternative. But because I had this big opportunity to do it, I say opportunity as if Amazon came to me. That's not the case. You can do self-publishing. It's called Kindle Direct Publishing. It's for both hard copy and for Kindle. Honestly, anybody can do it. It's just a lot of people don't do it because it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work that has nothing to do with writing in order to get it together. So in order to get something like this out, I had to download at least a couple different softwares that I had no familiarity with, learn how to use them, put all the pages together in the way that I thought would be good for that, and then abide by Amazon's rules in terms of margins and all that. And it took about a good couple weeks of just focusing on that and not on any writing whatsoever. And I think a lot of people at that point, like I was telling Leander this, that's barrier of entry. Like a lot of people are not willing to put in the time and effort to do that. So, but I kind of enjoy it in a way, even though it's hell, because of the fact that I know that other people aren't willing to do that. I know that I'm the person who's willing to go through a lot of hell in order to just get to that point where I'm just like, look, I already have a finished comic. I already have the art done and the letters done. All I need to do is put this together, in which case I'm just in the home stretch. This is not, the end of the world. I'm just in the home stretch. Maybe the home stretch is a little longer than I thought. So that's something that I learned towards the end was, hey, like, this is self-publishing, but not a lot of people self-publish. Here's why. And sort of thriving off the idea that, okay, well, if that's the case, if no one's willing to do this, let me just be the person who's willing to do all of that and learn from it and continue. So now that I have this under my belt and I know how to put out a printed comic as well as a Kindle digital one, because if you get this on Kindle, it has guided view where it goes from panel to panel as you swipe.
Oh, nice.
That came about because I downloaded a software called Kindle Create and manually highlighted each point on guided view. Because again, I'm not DC Comics, I'm not Marvel Comics. I don't have anybody to hire. I guess I could have hired somebody if need be to highlight the different points. But I did that myself because I've read comics off of Kindle. I've read it off of my phone.
Oh yeah.
I know what the experience, like what I would want the experience to be like. I wouldn't really trust anyone else to know how that would go when it comes to this story specifically. So some of it was the fact that, you kind of want to be in charge of your own stuff. And some other part of it is just being like, okay, if that's what it takes, that's what it takes. If that's what I need to do in order to get this on Kindle and get this on Kindle in a way that emulates other people's comics, that's what I have to do. And so that was kind of my attitude towards like the last couple weeks or the home stretch of this was just like, all right, it's taking a little longer, but what else is there? Like it's better than waiting on Hollywood to knock on your door and make it as a TV show and probably, do their own take on it. If I am in charge of this, which is the way that I wanted to with this comic, then you also have to be in charge of stuff that is not so sexy, which is like figuring out the margins and figuring out how to upload your cover. And like I uploaded my cover 3 or 4 different times just to figure out how they wanted it on the format. And
RGB, CYMK, you gotta figure out all that stuff when you go to printing. Yeah, it's
size. And I'm like, okay, cool. And yeah, I had to upload something different for the print versus something for the Kindle too. Mm-hmm. When you would think like, all I got to do is just upload it and they'll publish it, right? No, like there's so much other stuff. But once you do it, then you're like, okay, well then I could do that again, and then I can do that again and again and again, and that's how you end up with the whole indie series.
Yes, Tate, your drive is inspiring. Yes, and I like that you are learning how to do behind the scenes stuff for the comic to get it published. A lot of people are just like, yeah, you guys go figure that out over there. But no, I like that you're figuring that out, which is nice.
Yeah, because if it's truly self-published, then
you
kind of have to do the
publish. You kind of have to do all the things, all of it. You're the promoter, the guy. You're just the guy. You got to do all everything, which is interesting too, because I think Amazon is a good way to go to get a fan base and get your book out there. Mm-hmm. And then because you said volume 1 is going to be 4 issues. What I think
Mhm.
what you should do too is once you get to all 4 issues are out, do like a trade, but do that via a crowdfunding platform
Mm.
because it'll branch out and get you way more people and eyes on your book than you would have ever imagined. There's so many different platforms that do specific things like Zoop. Zoop is
Mhm.
amazing. They print and ship your books. Like there's a whole
I haven't
bunch of
heard of
other
those,
ones.
but
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
in terms of that one, but you can send me the information. I'll
Yeah,
check it
oh, I
out.
could, yeah, I could definitely do that. But yeah, there are so many things that are happening with the crowdfunding, and a lot of the people that I see backing books are
Mhm.
other creators, which is
Of course.
amazing to
Yeah.
me. Yeah,
Mhm.
I think that is so inspiring and amazing that other creators are out there because they're not only just hustling their own stuff, but they're helping other people get their stuff funded, which I think is fantastic. And I like that people get together and do that. So that's very cool. But
Mhm.
yeah, I think that's a way for you also to get your stuff out there as well.
Yeah, for
But
sure.
your girlfriend's figure out picos. Nice. Yes, Kev, good question. So you've been to some Comic Cons. Have you ever
Mhm.
been to the Michigan Comic Cons? Because we have several. There's Cherry Con, Grand
Mhm.
Rapids, Cap City, and Motor City, which is happening in 2 weeks. Will you ever be at Grand Rapids or a Michigan Con?
You know, I can look into it. I've never been. I've never
Okay.
been, but naturally, right? We have a comic set in Detroit, so kind of makes sense for me to be at
Kind of
least one of
makes
those.
sense. Yeah.
But yeah, I actually hadn't thought about that because we have so many cons here in Southern California. We've got obviously San Diego is the big one, but you
Yeah.
know, we in just in my area alone, we've got Pasadena, we got LA Comic Con, we
Oh,
got
you have a
WonderCon.
ton.
Yeah,
LA
so
Book Fest. What is that happening this weekend? Yeah.
oh man, yeah. So like it's something that I hadn't really thought about going to Comic Cons outside of this because it was already like I
Yeah.
was just only looking at the ones that I could just drive to. But that's something to keep in mind. I hadn't thought about that, but I can look into it.
Yeah. There's a lot of good ones. There's a lot of good, not just Comic Cons, but there's a lot of good anime conventions as well.
Hmm.
Like our main one downtown, which is actually downtown, is YumaCon,
Hmm.
but there's other ones around. But yeah, Cap City, Grand Rapids, Motor City. Motor City is actually happening in 2 weeks. Grand Rapids is coming up. We have a lot of really good cons that are out here, especially
Hmm.
for indie creators as well.
Yes.
And we get a lot of people that have books based around Detroit that are there that do fairly well at
Hmm.
the cons because people like the fact that it's based around Detroit.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah, I can
it,
imagine.
yeah. The crowdfunding platform is it's insane how much your books will get out there,
Hmm.
and it's just amazing. I've never seen anything like it. I've been doing this a whole year. I've done so many of my. I actually got so popular doing this series that I made another one that is specifically for campaign promotions.
Hmm.
Because so many people are going that way. But yeah, I mean, it's pretty amazing, like all the
Yeah.
stuff that's been happening, especially with the comic world in the last couple of years. And I like to see more and more people going out there and doing their own properties and getting that out there because I'm super heavily into indie comics, but I also love my crappy back issues. Like, give me a crappy back issue bin. I will sit there for hours and go through it.
Just comb through.
That's my thing. That is my thing.
Especially something
Yeah.
that's it has no order whatsoever. So you
Oh
really have
no.
to go in through and dig
Give me the stinky floor. I will sit on it. I will go through there. The janky
There's
boxes.
water stains on the cardboard box.
That's when you know you're gonna find the good
Yeah.
stuff. It's when you know the good stuff is happening.
Perfect.
I pulled out some weird stuff in my day, some back issue bins. That's how I found my favorite genre of all time, which is samurai ninja animal books. Let me tell you,
You must like that rabbit. I forgot the guy's name.
Usagi.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You want to know how much I like that guy? Let me tell you. Here, let me show you.
You have a stuffed version?
I have a. Where's my thingy? I lost it. Where'd it go? Oh, there it is. Right here. What's up, Rage? Right here. Okay. Boom.
Oh, nice.
Stan Sakai. Usagi. Doodle right there.
Awesome.
The sweetest man I have ever met in my entire life. Let me tell you. I've never seen anyone more giggly and smiley and full of life in my entire time I've been at a con. What is up, Rage? How are you doing? What's up, Callie? Yes. And I'm going to ask you this question because Rude is in the chat right now. And this is a good question.
Mm.
If you were to kill any superhero and you are personally taking them out, who
wow.
you're killing, why, and how are you taking them out? And they can't come back. They cannot come back, by the way. They're gone. Yeah.
I've never been asked this, so I'm going to have to think about this one.
You're going to have to think about it, I know.
Who would I want to kill?
Yeah.
Who am I not a fan of? I also
You
don't want
might
to go
hate
with like
this
a
answer.
basic answer too, where
Yeah.
like somebody everybody wants to kill.
Okay.
I'm gonna have to think. You're gonna have to get back to me on this one. I'm gonna have to really think about this one. So, I would have to personally want to kill this person.
Yes.
Why would I personally
Yes.
want to kill this person? Probably because I didn't
Mm.
like the comic. Um, who would I try to go after? Who do I personally not like? That's what I have to think of. Because usually with stuff it's not like it's one where if I like the character, I'll read it. If I don't really have any interest, I'm not going to read it. Like I
Yeah.
don't read comics of a character I don't like and secretly hate, and I just hate read it.
Some people do that. Some people go the route of this character is so annoying. Like myself, I pick Cyclops just because he's such a douche, and I want to see him just go down. I'm not a fan of the
If I were to pick an
Cyclops.
X-Men,
Oh yeah, if you were to pick it, yeah, there's a lot. Late night stream. I
man,
like it.
too
I
many.
like it. I like where you're going with that, Rude.
Who do I not like among the X-Men?
There's a couple annoying characters, but there's a couple characters I could see like the main characters go, so I could see my little characters come up because I like the weird side characters more than I like some of the main characters.
Yeah, like I'm always. I would probably try to take out some of the big players. I wouldn't take out like the side character because then that's just sad.
I know they don't get enough chance as it is on the screen. They need more screen time.
Okay, so who are among the main? All right, X-Men, because we've got a lot, right?
There's so many. Jean, there's Cyclops, Beast. People try a lot to take out Wolverine, but I mean, he's kind of cool. But
yeah, I wouldn't try to kill.
Yeah,
I wouldn't try. Oh, or would I just for the sake of it?
Oh, ooh.
Well, right, because I'm looking at this, and again, I wouldn't follow the characters if I didn't like the characters. So if nothing stands to mind in terms of somebody I don't like, then I probably would have to take out somebody who would. I'd probably have to take out somebody just for the sake of saying I could do it, especially if I'm a supervillain, a supervillain from Alter Ego. Leander says Ghost Rider.
Wow,
that's going to be tough.
Why are you taking out Ghost Rider? Ghost Rider's a sexy being. I mean, come on.
He comes from hell, so you would have to figure out you would need like Constantine to team up with you or
battle.
If you're going to cross over the DC universe.
I do like Megan Sonic, Teenage Warhead. Great character. Cyclops is the correct answer every time. I know, Tate. He's just asking for it. Let me tell you.
Let's see. Would I take out Wolverine for the sake of taking out Wolverine? So, because he's basically somewhat immortal, right? And it doesn't mean that I don't like Wolverine.
Yeah.
He's basically, so the fact that I could do it would just that would cement my standing in the entire X-Men universe.
This is also interesting too, because when you think about it, he's got the exoskeleton and he's regenerative. So if you remove like the flesh from him, would he still be alive? Because all the crap that he's been, as a skeleton, as just the adamantium skeleton. I want to see that happen. I could see that happening. Yeah.
If I throw that, well, it is adamantium, so can it be taken out by lava?
It's a good question. I know.
Yeah. But yeah, so right now, especially because I'm in the supervillain vibe, I would say Wolverine, not because I hate him, but because for the sake of saying that I could do it.
Ooh, yeah. Okay.
I would probably need Magneto's powers to try to remove the skeleton out of him, then throw that into molten lava. Because good luck trying to regrow your metal skeleton. Or you separate it. Where you take out the adamantium skeleton and put it in this lava that's always flowing, and then you take the flesh and prevent that from growing by throwing that into a separate pit of lava.
Yeah, so
you can just never fully heal.
This is also a question for Magneto. And if that's the case, like Callie is saying over here, you can't move a skeleton. I'm getting so many phone calls today. Without muscles and tendons. Okay, but he's regenerative and it's mutant. Okay.
Yeah.
So, but the bones underneath the skeletons might have powers because of all the crap that he's been through. Now, Magneto, why hasn't he just not ripped his whole entire skeleton from his body? Like,
he did rip.
I know, but I mean, you think he would do that more often? because he does bend the bones and stuff. But come on. You mean,
Wolverine
and
comes
you
in
can get
like,
quite violent with this.
again.
I know.
he just does it.
Like, yeah. Which
But
would be
yeah,
quite
again.
horrific because you would watch, because if you remove the skeleton from him, would just his whole body of skin and muscles just regenerate?
Yeah, I would
I
say
don't know.
yes, he can regenerate, but I'm not
Yeah.
going to prevent the regeneration. I'm just going to put him in a situation where he's going to have to continually regenerate over and over and over and over again.
Ooh. Wow. Nice. Okay.
Sorry,
I
Wolverine.
like this. Oh
But
no, you can
again,
get
as a
you can get
supervillain,
violent. Yeah.
that's to establish yourself. So yeah, that's my answer for
I
that.
know.
Until I think of
Yes.
somebody who I actually don't like.
Yeah. Like I know he's done it, but I mean, like, wouldn't that just be your easier? You just rip it out and do it again and again because a lot of time he's just bending his claws. Like, come on, just then it'll take him
Logan
longer
would
to
learn by
regenerate.
now to just not try.
Yeah. Yeah, the bone claws, because that's the
Yeah.
thing too. Like if you take this exoskeleton out, he's got the bone claws underneath it, which have the marrow and everything in it. So technically, he could probably move just the skeleton based on the fact that what's underneath his skeletal structure is what's keeping him alive. The
That's
bone.
why I sell the. That's why I
Just saying.
separate both. I
I
separate
know.
both and throw
Oh,
both into
you're
the
gonna
lava.
separate. Wow.
Yeah.
You're really going in there. Yeah, that's great. You know, that's what I'm saying. That's right. That's what I'm saying. I would torture him. Yeah.
And that's how the movie came about.
Exactly my point here.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why I think the exoskeleton, if you removed it from the muscles of the bone tissue, would keep working because the bone marrow and everything is underneath inside. You know, that's what I'm thinking. I'm in there. Okay, what do you say here? Yes, exactly. We're trying to take out like
that's what I'm
Juggernaut.
thinking.
Exactly.
I'm just like, I'm fans of all the X-Men, so all right, I'll just take out the biggest guy.
And then you would take out the Watcher because you can't stand bobbleheads. Okay.
I don't really consider the Watcher a superhero though.
True. Interesting. Okay. Okay. Constantine takes out Go. That would be a fun
that was
fight
my
to
pitch.
see.
Yeah.
That was your pitch. That was
Yeah.
your pitch. Yeah. I that would be a fun. That would be a fun one. I like both of those. You know. Yeah.
He's no longer a mutant.
Interesting.
Hmm.
You know. It's all stuff to ponder.
He's a mutant because of the healing factor, though, not necessarily because of the bones.
Yeah. Well, his bones are what has the healing factor and all that stuff in it, though, right? That's essentially where his
I guess
power
we go
lies.
scientific and say that the the cells there. That's when we get so granular. I'm like, okay, well, you win if you know the science at this point.
Ha ha. His DNA. I know. That's what we're talking about. It's right there. Yeah. This is super bobbleheads. Close enough. Okay. Yes. Exactly. That's why I'm also thinking too in the end of Logan.
Yeah.
Wait, well, we also got to see what happens in Deadpool 3 because I'm excited about that one. How you feeling about Deadpool? You excited about Deadpool 3?
I feel like that's the only way they could have done it because, like, when I was watching Deadpool 2, I was like, the dynamic between him and Cable was fine, but like, it's a missed opportunity. We didn't get a real Deadpool and Wolverine team up with Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman. Yeah, we had Origins, but nobody counts that.
No,
so
nobody counts that.
When they announced that they were bringing him back for this one, I was like, okay, like, you got me for this one because, like, what they were going to do another installment with him and Cable and X-Force. I was like, all right.
Sugar Bear was the highlight of part 2.
Right. It looks like he's back too, but I was just like, this is the right way to go because it's the main, like, that type of dynamic. That's what's going to get people to want to watch it. I didn't really care much about like him and Cable and X-Force because I'm not a big X-Force person. Hey, that's who I should have killed.
The entirety of X-Force.
The entirety of X-Force, just like in Deadpool 2.
That was actually a really great sequence where they took out 7 characters.
Oh, that's my favorite part of the whole movie.
5 minutes, and you're like, yes.
My favorite part of the whole movie is them killing off the entire X-Force because they build it up to be like, oh yeah, they're going to be so badass and team up.
I know they all die horrifically.
They just die horrifically.
Just the dumbest reasons of all time too. It's like this is film right here.
This is the helicopter blades. So yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited for it. I think it's the way to go. It's basically the main thing that would have interested me into another Deadpool installment.
Yeah,
because it's not something that I mean, I'm sure Ryan Reynolds, if he wanted to, could do 20 different Deadpool movies, but
Yeah.
if you're gonna do one final one, it's got to be Deadpool and Wolverine. Any other dynamic, if it's just Deadpool and Cable, that you don't have as much of the interest in there. I wouldn't be as interested in another one like that. So
Shatterstar, yeah, poor Shatterstar. He did not end well for him. Alpha Flight, and that would be a fun one. Alpha Flight. Alpha
they haven't done that.
Kind of use more love. That's for sure. Yeah. Yeah, no, that whole sequence was just hilarious. I love the team workout, the trials or whatever. Like, yeah, you're in, you're in. And they're like, yeah, we're gonna do great stuff now. You wonder if Liefeld cried when the X-Force taken out? No, I think he laughed. He was probably laughing.
Laughed.
Yeah.
I think only Shatterstar isn't Shatterstar the only one who's actually part of the X-Force? I don't think that was the real X-Force team.
Domino.
Well, yeah, but in terms of the people who got killed off.
No, true.
Peter obviously isn't. Yeah. So Peter obviously isn't because he wasn't a mutant. Vanisher's just a random X-Men villain. And then I don't really know Zeitgeist and the was it Bedlam, who was Terry Crews?
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't really know those. Like the only really X-Force person that got taken out was Shatterstar, who probably isn't as well loved compared to like, Cable and Domino. So
that's just so funny to me. I love that. Yeah, that's a good one. I really like that. But it's gonna be interesting too because he kind of merged a whole bunch of movies at the end of the last one. We had the little clicky poo thing. I forgot what it's called, but you know what I'm talking about. Go back in time thing. Yeah, that's going to be interesting to see what he actually does because Wolverine might only be in this movie like 5 minutes. We have no idea.
Which I think would be such a ripoff. You can't call the movie Deadpool and Wolverine and only have Wolverine.
No, you can't. Minutes. But it would be a troll thing to do.
I guess so. It's just there are fun Deadpool troll things, and there are troll things that are just annoying.
Oh, and I would find so mad. Yeah, people would be so mad. People would be so mad about this. You want the Thunderbolts team? Oh, okay, all right.
Well, that sounds more interesting than the actual Thunderbolts that they're doing.
It does. I kind of checked out on some of the MCU after a while because there was just so much happening. But now I got to go back and binge like a whole ton of stuff. Yeah.
I'm not sure if you have to.
Like, so I know, but I like doing that, and I'm just like, oh, I hate that. I'm like, dang it. But then, no, I really enjoyed. There was a couple of them that I thought I was really gonna hate. I actually ended up liking, like the Hawkeye series. I was like, this is gonna be annoying. I'm gonna hate it, but I liked it. It's like, dang it.
Bad. Yeah.
Wasn't that bad? No. Yeah. But yeah, there's a couple I could see that would like to happen. I'm also a weird big Image fan of the 90s, and I would love Cyberforce Wildcats to come out of this parade, which would be great. Oh yeah, that's another one. Fantastic Four. Fantastic Four is also coming out. I'm not really sure how I feel about the lineup on that because what's his face is kind of in too many things right now.
It kind of felt like he was cast because he's the it guy, not really because he's Reed.
Yeah.
I was like, all right.
Really did not enjoy him in Wonder Woman 84.
I didn't either. I thought he was the worst part of it. A lot of people thought he was the best.
I also thought he was the worst part of it. No, it was awful.
He's hamming it up to the max. Why can't you just be Maxwell Lord?
I would have taken his character out of there and just focused more on 80s stuff. And I would have liked it more.
She is an actual Wonder Woman nemesis. And
I know, but I would have liked it more. I know, and I would have loved the Cheetah chick to have more screen time. Would have been nice. 80s stuff. I could have also done without the Steve action as well. That whole movie was just
it was one of the most disappointing Christmases ever.
It was awful. Yeah, I was so upset by that movie, which is crazy because the first movie was excellent. I love the first movie.
One of the biggest drops ever.
You're you're all the way up here, and then you went bloop all the way down there. Like, what happened?
You were better off basically being like, "Yo, there's not going to be a sequel," and pissing people off that way because that would have been better than releasing the release.
Yeah, for sure. Team Blue or Team Gold? Okay, what are we talking about? I missed some stuff. We got wait. Hulk, Wolverine,
Ghost Rider,
and Spidey. I like that team up, and anytime there's a cover or with them together, I kind of grab that. It's one of my favorite covers of all time. Is in that one book. Yeah. Yes. Arthur Adams. I love Arthur Adams. Team Blue or Team Gold? I don't know. What does that mean? My brain is dead right now.
I don't know what it means.
Blue.
My
What does
brain
this mean,
zoned out,
Callie?
and I
My
was
brain
like,
is dead. No,
well,
I'm still recovering from a con, so.
part of me now that because I think my brain wasn't going into like all the Marvel characters. I was mainly
Yeah.
focused on the X-Men stuff, but part of me was just like, would I take out Namor?
Namor's so sexy though. His eyebrows are amazing. I would take him out
I
in the
don't
Black
think
Panther movie. I was done with that. No, I wanted eyebrows. I wanted my Namor. I did not get Namor vibes from that. X-Men.
No.
Oh. I like the OG team, but I'm kind of sick of it in the movies. I want give me newer stuff. I want sexy Omega Red action. I want Mojo. I want Spiral. Give me that stuff at X-Men. I had enough of the OG stuff. Like all the other movies were super like OG team.
Well, you don't want to see Dark Phoenix for the third time and hope they don't screw it
Hell
up
no.
again.
Hell no. My hate for Cyclops and Jean has started because of all those movies, let me tell you, but I've hated him for a long time.
Those are the real versions, but yes.
No, I know. I'm so tired of it. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd probably take out Namor. I'd take out the MCU Namor.
MCU Namor. Yeah.
He was a
Black
villain
Panther
through and
Namor can get
through.
out of there. I did not enjoy him, and
because people were like, he's an anti-hero. I'm like, he wants to kill a kid.
Listen, I'm usually down with that, but what? Namor is only slightly better than Cyclops. What did I just say? Cyclops. Oh my god.
Cyclops.
Cyclops, get out of here. Yeah.
So first thing is that I would rip out the feathers on the feet.
Shit. Damn.
Yeah, that's what happened in the movie. And then, then what? Well, then you just basically put him in a glass case in the middle of the Sahara.
Harsh. That's harsh. Oh shit.
You wanted to kill a kid because you just didn't want it to be out there that you had. I forgot the movie, honestly. Like, she knows Atlantis exists.
I checked out a long time ago on that movie, and I removed everything from my brain that has to do with that movie. I was like, I'm done with this.
That's another one that dropped in quality from 1 to 1, though. At least they had the excuse that like their star was gone, and they tried doing it, but still.
I like him in the green undies, although he is quite sassy in the red undies as well.
Yeah, green is classic. You got to go with
green is classic. He has to have the eyebrows, though. I'm all about the eyebrows on my guy. Namor is my second hubby of all time behind Lobo, and he needs the eyebrows. I'm telling you, you can't not have Namor without the eyebrows. Let's go. Oh, wait. Ooh. That's a good question. I also wonder this, too, because, horror movies.
For Terrifier 3?
Yeah. Interesting.
I haven't seen the others, so I can't comment on this.
She was the little chickie poo that was the other clown was at my con that I was at over the weekend. She's adorable. But yes, the brows. Yes. Nice. Gotta have the brows.
Yeah.
doesn't feel like him otherwise.
No. And there's no way that he can be doesn't feel like he's a hero from this. I'm just like, okay, it's fine. You made look, it was like the lamest end where it's like, all right, we just decided we're gonna make peace together. And I'm like, you wanted to kill each other this whole time.
Listen, that ending was more believable than the bullshit that happened in Wonder Woman 84. And they're just like, no, we're not. Although I will take all that back when we talk about the She-Hulk show. Oh, dude, are you kidding me? They're like, they built this all up, and then they got to the end, and they're like, no, I can't fight. I'm a lawyer. Let's go do lawyer things.
My issue with the She-Hulk show was that you have a lawyer who's a superhero, and she was neither a lawyer nor a superhero for
neither
90% of the show.
90% of the show, she was neither. Not only that, she didn't even fight anybody the whole time.
I'm like, what? This is going to be about her having a retreat with Tim Roth? Like, this is what we signed up for. The best episode was the Daredevil episode, simply because she was a superhero in that one, and because Daredevil was in it. It's the only one that I thought was like really worth watching.
Disappointed in that show because it sucks because I loved the Hulk show growing up. I grew up on that show. I don't care how cheesy it is. I grew up on that. That was I love it. But they took out everything that made that character. They just took it out. There was nothing in there. Look
And
at
then made
this.
fun of you for wanting something different from what it said it was going to
I
do.
got upset. I even hated the way Hulk looked in that show. I don't care. People are like, "Oh, but it's Professor." No, don't give me that crap. Don't.
My problem with
No.
Professor Hulk is that we never actually saw him become Professor Hulk. It
He
was
did nothing. He did
all
nothing.
these movies where just like, oh, like I got to integrate my Hulk side in Bruce Banner, and then Endgame is just like, all right, I did it off screen. He's in my entire character arc over movies and movies. It's just done off screen and just accepted now, and he's Professor Hulk.
Yeah.
Like
Yes.
this
Also,
is dumb.
we got a homie in the chat. This is Dave. He also has a book based on a Detroit comic. There you go.
Oh, nice.
It's Dave. Yes. Kev, get out of here. You loved She-Hulk, but they need a season 2. Kev, you have better taste in comics and movies than that. Let me tell you. Jeez.
If they do a season 2, it's got to be a completely different writing staff.
You keep trying to put your get rid of neighbor, but YouTube is blocking. Damn. They must also hate the neighbor that was in, or what did they call him in the movie? They didn't even call him Namor. What did they call him? Namor? Oh my god.
There was some other name the Spanish name
weird
they gave him because they decided that he was going to be, Latino, which I'm like, all right, but like, what about his origin? Like, what about like his motivation? Kind of forgot about some of that type of stuff.
That hurt. That movie. Yeah. No, I wouldn't mind a season 2 of She-Hulk, but they gotta add. Okay.
If season 2 was her as a superhero and as a lawyer and is just a fun superhero show,
Yes,
that breaks the fourth wall occasionally, because that's what it should have been in season 1.
It should have been that. It needed actual villains. It needed actual fighting. It needed actual.
Would have loved a villain.
A villain would have been nice. Yeah.
Any villain.
Any villain. I don't care which one you pick it in, you throw it in there. Any villain. Yes. Yeah. Okay. You're excited to see your favorite characters, She-Hulk and Moon Knight. Listen, I love She-Hulk. I wanted more from that. Every episode, I was like, okay, it might be better next episode.
Nope.
Every episode. And then I got to the finale and I was like, what is this bull crap? It's like, damn it. They like built her up to being this lovely, like, oh, she's independent, she's strong, or whatever. But then they got to the end, and they're like, you know what? No, we're not going to even let her fight. It's like, what?
Yeah.
What? No, make her fight. I want to see her badass.
Mm-hmm.
I liked Moon Knight a lot.
I did too.
I wish they would have slowed the pacing down because some of it was so fast. They were flipping it in so many directions that you couldn't even focus in on specific little things. And what I would have loved from Moon Knight too is if they would have showed more of like the mythology in like some of the other characters, like the Egypt stuff. But I loved it. I thought it was great. But yeah, I could have used a little slower paced. And what I mean by that is just the camera angles would just whip back and forth so fast sometimes that you were like, you get lost because you're trying to figure out, what happened? I don't know.
Yeah, I really liked it, but I don't know anything about the character in the comic. So I know some people were just like, oh, it didn't have this or that. I'm like, I have no idea what that is. So like, it's for what it was. I liked it.
Yeah, but I liked the imagery was really cool. You have every She-Hulk comic John Burns run as your favorite. Nice, Kev. Okay, Kev. Yeah, I do like She-Hulk. She's a great character. Yeah. One of my favorite covers of all time is an homage to Pulp Fiction, and she's on a Hulk cover. She's chilling. It's my favorite.
Esmea Wallace. Yeah, I'm trying to think of if I've seen that.
It's Hulk 441, 441, I think. Yeah,
I'll look into it.
Yeah. Incredible Hulk.
Yeah, I read like the original run before Byrne came on, but like the very first appearances, I'm like, this is way different from what people say. Like that was back when things were like, she's the female version of the Hulk, so things are still going to be dramatic and superhero-ish. I'm like, oh, okay, this is not the fun Byrne stuff that people are talking about.
Yeah, I like the Byrne, but I also like when Jen Bartel does She-Hulk. She looks fantastic.
Mm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess I'll look into it, but it's been a while since I've looked into that story, into that universe of the She-Hulk stuff. Okay, I can see the cover here.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. There's actually two versions.
What they do to her face.
Yeah, there's actually two versions of that. There's a regular one. There's a price variant for $1.50, which is more pricier than the other one.
Gotcha.
Nice. But yeah, that's a cool book. I like that one.
Nice.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, we kind of ventured into comics.
Our complaints about MCU and MCU series and stuff, but it's also kind of one of those where my own, because I think everybody's gotten the MCU fatigue.
Yes.
Everyone brings up, oh, it hasn't been as good since Endgame, except for the occasional, good movie or so. So I think that's also something that led to me being like, you know what, let me just put this out there because now it's time. Now it's like people have kind of gotten tired of the same stuff before, so let's give them something different, something where it's not the same old stuff, while also having that element of familiarity that you were talking about earlier with the supervillains, at least.
Yes. And it's very fresh, and I like that.
Thank you.
9 million freaking notifications here.
More people in the chat.
No, from just random people. I've had like 6 phone calls right here, and I'm like, get out of here. I'm not answering you. I saw that, and I'm very curious to see if this is actually happening, because James was like, it came out April 1st. That's an April Fool's joke, and I'm blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I don't know. The animation.
It's an April Fool's joke. They were using an image from the Long Halloween Batman movie for the Batman in that.
I know. That would have been so amazing, though. That's one of my favorite crossovers, and I love the Batman Spawn book that came out. I really enjoyed
I'd say if you're gonna do it, bring back HBO Spawn and have Keith David do the voice again.
Yes, HBO Spawn is fantastic. It is probably one of the best animated things I've seen. I wouldn't mind more animated Spawn. Like, even if they put the live action stuff for Spawn on hold, that's fine.
Yeah.
The Sam and Twitch
for years and years anyway.
Yeah. The Sam and Twitch thing, though, that now you're pissed. I know. I shared that to James.
Somebody's
and James
gonna have. No, somebody had to tell you. I'm sorry.
Somebody had to crush your dreams, Tate. And but no, I would have loved more of the animated series. I really like what they did in there. The Sin City one, the Sin City animated for HBO, was also really good too.
I didn't know there was a Sin City one.
There is, yes. It's done by the Cool World / Bakshi team. It came right around, I think that came just a little bit before, because it aired in HBO around the same time as the Spawn series. But yeah, it's pretty cool. Yeah, it's neat. And now you're learning all kinds of stuff today. No, it's okay, Tate. I know, we're the crusher of dreams, letting you know the information that's happening. But no, I could really do with more adult style animation for some comics instead of live actions. I think that would hit more than some of the stuff that they're pushing out, because right now it's just too oversaturated right now.
Yeah.
The same thing with the comics. They need to scale back and focus on quality. I would really love people to cut CGI in half and go back to more practical effects. I would love that more than anything. And I love the fact that Tim Burton is doing that in the Beetlejuice movie, because the effects that you've been seeing, especially in the MCU, have not been the best. And you could tell that they were super rushed, whatever.
They
and
have
they
a
did
release
not put
date.
a lot of, they're like, we gotta get these out. Let's push this out of here. Yeah. I would love them to do that and just focus more on like better scripts. I don't even care what actors you get in there. They can be no-name actors, whatever. Just focus more on the content that you're putting out there. Get that together. But that's what they need to do.
The scripts for sure, right? Like that. I think that's always been a thing where even when they do have more time for the visual effects, when they have the budget and the time for it, we're at an all-time high in terms of how great those are. But then, you go into you go into sort of the quality of the writing, and that's why a lot of people are nostalgic for the older stuff. It's because of the fact that the stories were better, and now it seems like people have lost sight of like what it's about, or try to be too clever, like trying to do a whole superhero show where she's not even a superhero or fight anybody towards the end, something like that is just like trying to be clever for the sake of being clever. But like, okay, it's cool to be clever and subvert expectations, but you still got to give me something different. Like, you actually give me something, period. Like, actually give me something. So it's fine if you want to like do something different, because you should when you have all sorts of these other type of characters. But there should also be a level of saying, hey, it's not good enough just to be different. It's not good enough just because it's a She-Hulk show. We can do whatever we want. Like, no, you should still abide by what people are going to be expecting when they tune into the show. Otherwise, you're not going to have people watching the show.
Yeah. So, okay. What I think that the DC movies do better than the Marvel movies is the way that they do their props, their music, even their sets. It brings you into there and you can feel like you're part and you're on that set. To me, the MCU, it's not of that quality to me.
Yeah.
And I'm a huge fan of DC. I'm a huge fan of the movies. But when the Tim Burton came on set and he did that with the movies, those are some of my favorite movies of all time. They're fabulous. They're dark. They're gritty. Like you feel those vibes. And even the crappier movies, like of the Batman movies, I adore them. I love those movies. They're fantastic to me.
Fantastic in all the 90s Batman movies, whether it's Burton or Schumacher.
So good.
Because it feels like you've been transported into that world. And then now,
exactly.
you know, everybody loves The Dark Knight, but you can't really tell me Gotham City and that is anything but just Chicago. You know, like it just doesn't have the same feel to it at all, as opposed to like the first shot of Tim Burton's Batman with Gotham City. You're like, okay, I'm in another world. You know, there's a reason why Anton Furst won the Oscar for that one. It's because you feel like you're transported.
Okay, I like that. Kev says you have ventured into the nerd zone. Yes, practical effects for life. Also, they also have better soundtracks. I'm gonna give you that. They actually incorporate that into the movies. Shut up, Kev. You're gonna get smacked.
That's what other people say.
Yeah. Okay, what are you saying?
And edit together over cooking. Yeah.
It does. So yeah, even like when you see Batman Forever and then Batman and Robin and what is the other movie? My brain is dying right now.
It's both Batman Forever and Batman and Robin.
The Val Kilmer one. Which one's the Val Kilmer one?
Batman Forever. Behind me. Yeah.
Okay. Even when you see those movies, they incorporate some of my absolute favorite things in those movies, and that is the weird side characters. Like when they're around in the city and they're showing like the graffiti thing and the dudes pop out and they're showing those little fight scenes, that's what's needed. Like that's what brings you in, because that's what happens in the comic books. When they show when Mr. Freeze is doing his little Mr. Freeze thing and he's got the little villains around everywhere. That's what makes you feel like you're inside the book.
Yeah.
It's missing that on a lot of like the newer stuff. Like the villains is what makes Batman. I am pro villain. I love all of that stuff. Okay. I have not seen Guardians 3 yet. I'm about 5 years behind on movies, but he does amazing for soundtracks. And I want to say Guardians probably has some of the best soundtracks of all time.
Oh yeah. No. That one's worth it. If we're going to pick like out of the post Endgame MCU stuff, for sure, watch that one.
Yes. Okay. There is a Wonder Woman movie that is fantastic. Even the weird movies that come out that are not so great for DC, they're still amazing. The animation is fantastic. I love those movies. I pick them up every single time I find one. Yeah. Figure. Yes. So the CGI is what killed me in a lot of the MCU stuff. It was so just like half-assed. You could tell that they just rushed it, and that just completely removed me from the movies when you see any of that stuff. The poor MODOK.
I was like, what am I watching now?
That's all you need to say. Like, that's it. Like, you don't even, that's it. That's all. Yeah. Oh, dude. Yes, that is amazing movie. Yeah. So good.
One of the best Batman movies.
Phantasm. Oh my gosh. Phantasm is fantastic.
I have a poster of Mask of the Phantasm right above me that I have gotten signed by a couple of the animators. That still probably my favorite. That one and Under the Red Hood are probably top two.
So good. Oh, hey, what's up, Caroline?
Yeah, my top Batman movies, even though we cover a lot of the live action stuff, but if I were to include animated stuff, the top ones would be animated ones then.
The animated series is probably my all-time favorite animated series. The OG, like 90s. It's fantastic. From soundtrack to the voiceovers to the animation style, it is absolutely top tier. I love the Spider-Man series as well, just because it has some of my favorite things in it. And I'm going to tell you right now, when the X-Men series came out, that Pizza Hut promotion books are some of my favorite books of all time,
Mhm.
only because of the nostalgia factor and how much my brother and I would fight over all that stuff, and we would go have pizza parties, but
Mhm.
just to get all the stuff to come in. But I love all that stuff. I'm a sucker for all of that. Yes.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, I just got home from a work party. Buzz
Fun.
up, margaritas. That sounds like a good time, Caroline. Welcome to the chat.
Mhm.
Yes. Batman the animated series. That even the Batman Beyond series was dope. It was pretty good. I like the animation style. They really did good animation style for that. It was so good. So good. So well done. We are almost at 2 hours. I told you it'll fly by. It
Yep.
happens all the time. So, question. Are you going to be at any cons where these lovely buttholes in my chat can find you and harass you about your books and or your works?
Definitely LA Comic Con.
Okay.
In terms of the other ones that were brought up in Michigan, I'd have to take a look into that because I hadn't really
Okay.
thought about that before. So I'll definitely take a look into that. But I don't even know what the dates are for those yet. But I can take a look for sure and
Yeah.
see what I could do. I've never had a booth before, so
You've never had a booth
I've never had the booth.
before?
Well, I've never had anything
Interesting.
to show yet until now, which just
Well, this
literally
is
was
also
like last month.
true.
Yeah.
This is also true.
I'm just getting started here. So it'd be something I'm definitely open to, but
Okay.
we'll have to take a look in terms of scheduling and what I could have set up there. If there's a ability
Yeah.
to have a booth at any of those, that'd be cool. And then trying to figure out, okay, how does one go about that? Because I've never had to do that before. So
Okay.
I would take a look into that for sure. But for sure, LA Comic Con, I'll probably be we're part of the Geekscape
Okay.
podcast network. So
Nice.
would probably be part of the Geekscape panel there. And then we're trying to apply for our own panel for superhero stuff you should know show, so that
Very cool.
we have something of our own, record our own episode there. We have a few plans of what we're going to do for that I can't say right now, but if we are able to do it,
Geeky
it's going to be
stuff.
pretty big. Yeah. So that's what we've got going on. And then I have a number of, I know we haven't talked that much about it yet, but I have a number of audio podcasts coming up
Okay.
that are in the works from Nuverse Creative, which is linked below. So Nuverse Creative, for those who don't know, is a fan project for a lot of different. It started out as kind of doing audio dramas for unmade superhero stuff. So they did
Ooh.
some of the scripts that were done for the Nicolas Cage Superman, and had actors who emulated or impersonated, Nicolas Cage, or other actors who might have been part of that amongst the cast. And it sort of evolved into, at one point, we just ended up talking back and forth about. We talked back and forth about like different projects, because my podcast covers, from a podcast perspective, deep dives into these unmade superhero scripts, and he was doing dramatizations of those scripts. So it just seemed like we would naturally click together. And then one of the things that we covered was the Batman '89 comic series, which continued the Burton Batman. And I asked him, I was like, hey, are you going to do an audio drama based off of that comic? And he was like, yeah, probably at some point, but I'm like flooded with projects. And I was like, why don't I take a crack at it? So that ended up being our first collaboration behind the scenes, was doing an audio drama based off of the Batman '89 series with actors who are emulating, Michael Keaton's Batman and Michelle Pfeiffer's Catwoman and Billy D. Williams as Harvey Dent. So like that was to sort of bring to life a story that only seemed to exist in the comic form at that point. And then it sort of has evolved into Tim asking me, Tim's the guy who's in charge of Nuverse, asking me like, hey, what if you were to do short stories for different versions of Batman, what would you do? And I came upon the idea of taking different specific comic book issues of Batman and adapting them if they fit to the different roles of each version. So we released one with Val Kilmer's Batman, released another one with Michael Keaton, we released another one with Christian Bale. And so it sort of evolved into us being the continuing unseen adventures of each version of Batman. So there's a whole number of them that you'll see on the Nuverse Creative channel. The last one that I wrote that was produced was, funny enough, Batman the Animated Series, where there was a comic book story called White Christmas, where Mr. Freeze has basically set a blizzard amongst Gotham City, and Batman has to figure out, has to basically track down where he is. And it was meant to be it was a Christmas story that they put into the tie-in comic, but they didn't adapt that story into the actual series like everything else from that comic. So we were just like, why don't we do that? Why don't we do that audio drama? So that was the latest one, and we have a whole number of different projects coming up that will cover either unmade scripts or unproduced scripts, or other like chapters in the lives of the other Batmen. So I've got, I don't know if I can say the specific number, but I would say it's probably close to 8 on the way. That's dependent on what's being edited, but what's been announced already would be Batman 3, which is my adaptation of the original scripts for Batman Forever, but they are going to be dramatized as if it was done by Tim Burton. So it's going to have Danny Elfman Batman theme. It's going to have an actor who's sounding like Michael Keaton. It's going to have somebody who kind of sounds like Marlon Wayans to be the Robin, because that was Tim Burton's original choice for Robin for Batman Returns. So that's going to, for Batman 3, that's on the way. There's a trailer for that attached to Batman 89, the Batman 89 comic that I adapted. And then the other one is going to be an adaptation of the unmade script by Darren Aronofsky and Frank Miller of Batman Year One, where it was very gritty crime thriller, Taxi Driver inspired. And again, Nuverse Creative is geared towards kind of family friendly audiences, and the Darren Aronofsky take, which has an entire subplot involving prostitutes and a lot of people on drugs, and just like violence where like Batman literally throws a batarang into a guy's eye.
Whoa.
That type of stuff just wasn't going to fly in an audio version, but we decided, hey, we're going to do something that is our own take on the same story. And what made it fun was when I pitched the idea, what if it's a prequel to The Batman? What if this is the origin story for the Robert Pattinson version, and it's a shorter version? It's not a complete adaptation of the screenplay, because if that was the case, it wouldn't be an all audiences friendly type of thing. So it's a shorter version that still remains true to the spirit of it. It's still dark, but isn't like so as dark as the original script. And I'm excited about that. That's probably one of the favorite ones that I've done, because of the emotional like arc that I saw that was kind of in the script, and I did other things to it to try to bring that more to life. So that's The Batman Year One coming out. So those are 2 out of the like
Very
8,
cool.
I think, that are on the way. The others we can kind of keep secret.
Let's see. Okay. And then Tate says Death in the Family. That's a good one. One of my favorite Batman series. I love Batman. I love the DC. Catwoman is my favorite character of all time. But I love the Shadow of the Bat series, the comics.
Oh yeah.
I love the style of Batman that they did in there. I love the grittiness. I like the weird covers. It's great. That's my favorite.
That feels like the golden age in some way, not the literal golden age of like the 30s and 40s, but like that feels like the golden age of Batman comics, where it was just like you had all these ongoing titles that were all like had some solid stories. You got Denny O'Neil as editor, and you have like just major story arcs that are now classics. Nightfall. It's a hell of a classic.
I love Nightfall.
No Man's Land. No Man's Land is probably my favorite out of all those. So it's just one after the other, and it kind of feels like everything else afterwards has kind of just been a kind of takeoff of those types of stories, where just like, let's see another character who breaks Batman. Let's see another, disaster in Gotham City that challenges the characters. I'm like, there are other things that we can do with this, guys, than just that.
Yeah.
But that was a great era.
Yeah. Because I was really big into Catwoman. One of my favorite series of all times, and I like how it crossed into so many different books, was the Contagion series. I love Azrael. I wish they would do more with Azrael, and I wish he would come into like the movies, because he's so cool looking. He's just a badass looking dude. But we got a couple people in here talking about some stuff. Yeah. Kev is a veteran booth babe himself, and has been boothing for a long time. He says, booth with an artist if possible from your book. Good tip. Yes, good tip.
That'd be cool.
Also, free comic book day is coming up. Maybe you can get in at your comic shop and just, talk about your book and things there. because that would be a good gateway into
It would be.
spieling at
Mm,
booths at
yeah.
Big Con when people come in.
Hmm.
Yes.
For sure.
Hold on. And then Tate is freaking out here. He says he loves the Batman radio drama and hasn't been released yet because he's excited for it. And he goes, "Where will it be available?"
Check out the link to, if you put it in there.
I did.
Nuverse
Yes.
Creative, Neuverse. You'll find a whole variety of different selections, but the ones that I did were
There you go.
off the top of my head. I did the Batman '89 Shadows, which is
There you go.
an adaptation of the comic series. I did Batman '89 Case of the Chemical Syndicate, where I adapted the very first Batman story, but set it as a prequel to the first Michael Keaton, Tim Burton Batman movie.
Here, drop all your links.
And then, oh yeah, thank you. What else? What else do I have up there? If I'm going, I'll just go in order of the different Batman. So I also have Val from the Grave, which is me adapting a classic Denny O'Neil, Neil Adams Batman story, but for Michael Keaton's Batman. And then for Val Kilmer, it's adapting another Dennis O'Neil, Neil Adams story, Night of the Reaper. That worked out very well, actually, because it was the first time writing for the Val Kilmer version of Batman, and he fit in so well, actually, with the Denny O'Neil classic 1970s take on it. It's got a college-age Robin, and it just seemed to fit. And then Christian Bale's Batman is The Dark Knight Fears, which is an adaptation of the first story in the Haunted Knight collection, where Batman's chasing after Scarecrow and kind of falls in love with this other woman and sort of questions whether or not he should continue as Batman. So those have been the ones, and then the one that I mentioned, White Christmas, which is set in the world of Batman the animated series. So those are the ones that I was behind, and then I also contributed to a different version of Batman Year One that was an adaptation of supposedly a treatment by the Wachowskis. Supposedly they went to the Wachowskis around the time of the Matrix. But we didn't really find any information on whether or not they actually did this because they never said anything about it. And Tim had done a previous audio drama of it, but he wanted to expand on it and he wanted me to contribute to certain scenes. So I ended up working with him on it, and we found what I felt was a really cool take on the dynamic between Bruce and Gordon, Batman and Gordon, that we felt like we had the freedom to do since it was an unmade treatment and we could do whatever we wanted in that world, as opposed to the other worlds where they're kind of set in terms of, Batman and Gordon's relationship. So I wanted something that felt true to the concept or the idea that Commissioner Gordon is a detective himself. So he probably wouldn't be clueless in terms of who's behind the mask. So you can check that out. So that's Batman Year One from the Wachowskis on that channel at Nuverse Creative.
Yes, and Tate said he's subscribed to all 3 channels, and
Nice.
he will be listening tonight. And I like Commissioner Gordon. I like that he was in the Joker miniseries that came out a year ago. I love that series. It was good because I like that he got a lot of focus on there. It's cool.
Nice.
Figure drawing has a good question. Favorite Batman artist or artists?
There's a ton, but Neil Adams is the GOAT.
Oh, he's good.
I mean, you can't argue against that. Marshall Rogers, so I love the 70s era with that. So that's been great. I think Alan Davis is underrated. Alan Davis around the 1980s, teaming up with Mike Barr. So I'd say those to me are very classic. See if there's anyone else off the top of my head. It's not like there's anybody who I hate. This is just like being asked your favorite movie and then you blank out. Just like beforehand when I was asked what superhero would I kill, I'm just like, I don't know. And like when we finish the stream, I'll like email you and be like, I should have said this.
It'll happen. How do you feel about Kelly Jones? Because some people are not into the Kelly Jones. I like Kelly Jones. Okay.
I think
Batman.
For Kelly Jones, it's worked the best for me in the Elseworlds with Dracula.
Okay. I like that.
Yeah.
This one's just nice.
But with regular ones, I think it comes down to if I'm in the mood for it. Sometimes I'm like, okay, this kind of works. Other times I don't hate it though, because what I've always loved with the imagery of Batman, and this is what I really love about the take from Michael Keaton and Tim Burton, was the whole feeling of the the wraith of the night, the phantom.
Yes. Yes.
And the reason why Keaton performance wise is one of my favorites in the suit. The way how he carries himself in the suit. I was lucky enough to interview Carl Newman, who was one of the movement doubles in the suit for the '89 movie, and a lot of it comes down to him, and a lot of it comes down to Keaton. But just the way he moves, even though people bring up like, well, he can't move his head and stuff. Like, no. I don't care about that, especially as a little kid watching these movies. It was more of this otherworldly aspect, the way that when he donned the suit, he became this phantom. You know, he became this
felt like a creature of the night.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what he was supposed to be. Yeah,
and he's felt the most creature of the night-ish to me out of all the different ones, and so that's kind of why I kind of let it slide with Kelly Jones, because it's basically an exaggerated version of what I love so much about the Burton movies. So yeah, we can poke fun at him with like the elongated ears and sometimes the faces look a little wonky, but at the same time, it's like I love the intention behind it. I love what it's actually going for.
Yeah. Okay. This comment here, yes, the aura of the Batman, which was missing to me in the Nolan movies. So when you think about Batman, yes, the Nolan movies were dark. The Nolan movies had like stuff in it, but it didn't have that essence of like that, the aura that was missing to me in those movies. Yeah, it was super dark and whatever, gritty. Yeah, sure, but it was missing that kind of thing for me.
Yeah. And I felt that so much when the first time I rewatched the '89 movie after Begins. I was like, oh, this is what I felt was missing when I was the first time I had rewatched it, because I'm just like, okay, like story wise I kind of get it, but like I don't know, there's just something kind of off. And then I rewatched '89. I'm like, yeah, it's this. It's the art direction. It's the feeling of Gotham City. It's the way that he moves in the suit. So it's all connected to that. The way the Batmobile looks, the feeling of the soundtrack. Like there's a reason why that's a lot of people's OG Batman movie.
Yeah, it pulls you in and it makes you feel like you're there inside that city, whatever. Batman Returns, one of my all-time favorite movies, all time. I adore it. It just has that vibe to it.
Yeah.
And it's not just the Tim Burton thing, just whatever they did on that set for that movie, they nailed that vibe to me. And I love it. I also love that it's during Christmas time because I watch it during Christmas.
Oh, yeah. Go to Christmas movie.
Good question. Current Bat artist. Jorge Menez has been doing some really cool things. I like the way that they draw the new series that's been coming out. It still feels like that classic Batman series to me.
Yeah. Let's see. Let me just refresh my memory in terms of. Oh yeah. Okay, so he's teamed up with Zdarsky on it. Yeah. Jorge's good. I like him. Who am I really liking these days? You know what style I kind of like is from. Let me just make sure I got his name right. He works on the comic that's tied into the Batman audio adventures. Yeah, Anthony Marquez. He's got this kind of cool style that's like a mix of David Mazzucchelli and Bruce Timm.
Okay.
That kind of feels like an offshoot of the animated series, but it's its own thing at the same time. I like that stuff. That stuff is really cool.
Nice. Let's see. Yeah, the Elfman music. Just, dude, you can't even. Dude, the music video that Prince did for the Bat Dance, that even gave me super Batman vibes. Are you kidding me? That was amazing.
Yeah,
that was great. Let's see. What are you saying, Tate? Ben Wan Ryder is Ben's Iggy. If anyone. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's also in the description I have down below. So yes. What are you saying here? Yes. That's completely missing from a lot of the Batman movies. They throw villains in there, but they don't give you that. It's missing that weird essence of a side villain or whatever I don't get from a lot of some of the newer stuff. And that's what we were mentioning earlier. Like that's some of my favorite points in those movies. Even the people hate them for those reasons, but that's my favorite thing. I like the side characters. I like the weird stuff. I like, when they go into the battle and yeah, no, that's all. That's what makes Batman to me. Those weird characters. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I love Princess soundtrack so much. I love Princess. Oh, Princess. Why did I say Princess?
Yeah, Princess soundtrack.
Yeah, I'm getting tired and hungry.
But yeah, they can check out my my take on the different Batmen in Nuverse Creative. A fair amount of them, again, are adaptations, but I try to mix in characterizations or other things that I guess add a little bit more insight into each version. So I've covered Keaton, Kilmer, Conroy in BTAS, Bale, and then we got we do have some stuff involving Clooney on the way, as well as Ben Affleck and Robert Pattinson's version. So I am covering like pretty much all of those.
Nice.
And maybe at some point I'm going to do an Adam West one. I've been thinking about it. But
you got to include West. You got 66 Batman. It's so cheesy, but it works. But it's also like when you think back as a kid, you immediately go to the Hulk show and the Batman show. Mm-hmm. Like you immediately just think of these things because that's everyone's childhood. Like that's what you think. It was on TV all day long. You think the wham, pow, bang, booms.
Funny enough, that one might be the most challenging for me to write because of the fact that it has such a specific style to it that I'm not naturally, writing in my own stuff. You've read Alter Ego, it's not Batman 66. So like I would have to like really study how it's written first. But I'm definitely down like for the challenge. I have some ideas of what we could do with Batman 66, but first off, I don't want to overwhelm the channel with all my different ideas because he already has a whole bunch that are in the pipeline.
Tate has to run. Thank you so much for hanging, Tate. But yeah, we should probably get out of here too. It's been like 2 hours and 15 minutes almost. So thanks, Ben, for jumping on here and chatting with me. And you're welcome back anytime. Come back for issue 2, whatever. We will talk more about Batman and why we hate Cyclops further on.
Well, you're the one who said you hate Cyclops. I need to read more to figure out why. But
it's okay. Yes.
766 comic with all red art. Yeah.
Yeah.
I need to check out more of those.
Yeah, we'll check that out. But yeah, you catch up on all that stuff and then we will. Oh, thank you, Figure. Thank you very much for staying and hanging with us, homies. But yeah, we're going to get out of here because I need some food. I'm getting a migraine and a headache and I definitely need food. But yeah, thank you very much, Leander, for coming on here. Thank you so much. Thank you to Ben. Go check out all of his links and also go check out the link to Alter Ego on Amazon, plus your other books as well that are on there. Go check all that out. And we're going to get out of here because you're probably hungry too. You've got like a million Batman podcast thingies to do. So peace. All right, out of here. Okay. Thank you very much. Bye. Bye, guys. Let's do a little dance.